So an absolutely fantastic circuit here at Assen. Alongside, my name's Andrew Cully. Alongside me is Rick Bolt. Rick, local commentator. You know the Assen circuit very well indeed.
Yeah, it's 4.5 kilometres, 2.7 miles. Very fast, but very technical as well. South end of the track, two right-handers. They determine the speed you carry down the straight. So flat out through the flick, left around 275. Hard on the brakes for the chicane, leading onto the straight. We have 3 sector times for you during the race. So, yeah, it's going to be very exciting because you have different setups throughout the teams.
Here's something that's very exciting indeed. A whole bunch of people having dinner up a crane. That's certainly a unique way to enjoy corporate hospitality. It's a new season and a new look for Superleague Formula.
Superleague Formula 2010 belonged to David Rijon, who took away the €1 million first prize. 2011 is a new dawn for the championship, and David Rijon won't be here at the first round as he's out injured. All the drivers have had a long winter and they're keen to get back behind the wheel and battle it out in this unique motorsport series.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be back, you know, in Super League, and it's been a year and a half since I last drove those cars.
It's the great format of the racing, and I'm very happy to get a chance to be here also with the Czech car.
It took so much time for the drivers to get into the cars, you know. It's almost June and I just couldn't wait.
Being very close to, you know, a championship or at least the top 3, we definitely got some unfinished business.
Great to be back in the car, especially in the New Zealand car when I used to drive it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We ended last year on a high with a couple of race wins at the last round in Navarra, so no, I'm feeling really good coming here.
As soon as the season finished, I was focused on this year, trained hard over the winter. Now we can go and win this weekend and get off to a good start.
The biggest change for this season is the introduction of the Nations Cup format, where drivers race for national pride as well as personal glory.
Wearing my flag, it's an honor. I hope to push for the Spanish people.
It's a great feeling to race for Australia.
So I hope I can do well, especially for those fans that used to follow me in the past, and obviously for Brazil.
Of course, it's a big honor always to represent the colors and your own country. I'm representing Luxembourg, so I'm really proud on that. The format is really, really fun for a driver and also for the spectators, so it's good that they keep that.
Whilst the unique knockout format of qualifying remains, race day is much harder for the teams and the drivers. 3 races in 2.5 hours means very little time to re-prepare.
2 Grand Prix in 2 hours, so exciting for the people, tired for the drivers, but I think I'm ready.
You know, it's going to really pay a toll on the drivers. 2 40-minute races back-to-back's really hard work, then with the super final, so it'll be a tough day's work Sunday.
If you have a big problem in race 1, like a crash, or if you need to change the engine, that's it, your weekend is gone, you know.
There's very little time to have something to eat, so that's a bit of a, you know, that's one of the difficult things.
The second race with the reverse grid, I think that's going to be where I'll show where I'm strongest, is the overtaking. But then now we've got 3 races in a row, it's going to be very difficult for anybody, so anything can happen in Super League Formula.
Not only is the format of race day difficult, but an enormous amount of talented drivers in the championship means that any win is going to be hard fought. With multiple previous winners who are returning this year, it's going to be a fantastic season.
Out of those 14 drivers, I think maybe 90% of them are race winners or in the past year.
Everyone's goal is probably get through, finish both races, and then see if you can make the super final. That's really the goal for everyone every weekend, is to be on the grid for €100,000.
So many drivers won. Last year I did 4th position, and why not a podium? For sure we can fight for that.
It's definitely got to be win the championship. Just try and start strong, and hopefully we can finish the same way we did.
For the championship, there's only one place I can be, and that's at the top.
Well, we've got a great crowd here at Assen today, a circuit that always provides fantastic racing. We're looking there at the Netherlands PSV Eindhoven car of Jelmer Burman. Yeah, he set the fastest lap in the first part of qualifying yesterday. And let's have a little look at qualifying now.
Before the serious stuff began, the drivers headed downtown to Assen to entertain a crowd of thousands and make the draw for qualifying on Saturday. Drivers are split into 2 groups, and the top 4 from each group goes through then to the quarters, the semis and the finals. The first big shock of the day came in qualifying Group A, when Australia's John Martin, who'd said he was aiming for pole position, didn't make the cut. He'll be at the back of the grid and will be fighting his way through in that first race. An even bigger surprise came in qualifying Group B when Craig Dolby for England was called in early by his team, mistakenly believing that he'd made the cut when he hadn't.
They told me I was through, come in. So I came in. As I came down the pit lane, they told me I was out.
The first quarter-final saw a mistake by Jelmer Berman. He ran wide and sent Brazil's Antonio Pizzonia straight through to the semis. In the second quarter-final, Frederic Vervisch for Luxembourg had no answer to France's Tristan Gomondi. Earl Bamber for New Zealand went on in the third quarter-final to beat Andy Soucek driving for Turkey. And local driver Robert Dornbus took the final semi-final spot, putting out Neil Jarni. The first semi-final saw Tristan Gomendi go faster again and knock Antonio Pizzonia out, leaving the Brazilian fourth on the grid. Earl Bamber put in another consistent lap, knocked out Robert Dornbus and set up a New Zealand-France showdown for the final. The final was incredibly close. Bamber was up at split number 1, but by split 2, Frenchman Gomondi had moved ahead. They came down to the finish line. Bamber's on second. The emotional Frenchman takes pole position. With a reaction like that for a pole position, it'll be great to see what happens if he wins today.
So a fantastic qualifying session yesterday. That unique knockout formula really working to give us action at the circuit. Tristan Gomondi on pole, second place Earl Bamber for New Zealand. Row 2, Robert Dornbus, Netherlands, and Antonio Pizzonia from Brazil. On to row 3, Frederic Vervisch for Luxembourg, Andy Soucek for Turkey, Neil Jarni for Belgium, and Jelmer Berman for Netherlands PSV. Craig Dolby and John Martin, the big surprises down on row 5, going out early in qualifying, Ho Pin-Tung and Philippe Salacada. And at the back of the grid, Maria Di Velotta and Duncan Tappy. So looking at the grid then today, first of all, you could see from qualifying yesterday, we had absolutely stunning weather. It's still very warm today, but it's overcast. And we're looking at the top 6 cars here on the grid. Luxembourg, Frederic Vervisch in 5th place there, getting himself ready for the race. Tyre warmer staying on just until the very last second before these guys are good to go. Antonio Pizzonia, having been out of single-seaters for about 18 months, was very pleased to be in 4th place on the grid. Good drive by him.
Yeah, we're looking at Robert Dornbus, who's very confident for this race. He likes to be called Bobby D. It's easier for the English viewers, he says. And we're looking at Earl Bamber now.
Yeah, Earl Bamber with his best ever qualifying position, 2nd place. He was unlucky there to miss out on pole position, but the man of the day yesterday was Tristan Gomondi. Went faster after the tyres went off. They always drop off after around 4 laps. He was the only person on used tyres to go faster in each section, in the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, right through to the final, and that put him on pole. And my goodness me, he was really emotional, wasn't he, when he took pole position?
Yeah, he was very emotional indeed, and I had a talk with the team manager, Wim Kogelbergs, this morning, and he told me that it was because he hadn't been in the car for a long time, didn't expect to have such a good car, and could finally show his qualities. He won Macau, of course, so he's really a good and very fast driver, and he hadn't been able to show it up to that end, and the emotion got to him.
We've got so many good drivers in Superleague Formula this year. It's fantastic to see them all there, and we can see them leaving the grid now for a warm-up lap. Of course, it's a rolling start to give you an idea of the format. If you've not seen Superleague Formula before, we have 3 races today inside 2.5 hours. This first race is a 40-minute race with a standard grid, and the finishing position from this race will decide the grid for the next one, which is completely reversed. Finally, we have a sprint race at the end of the day, which is a 5-lap dash for cash. So this is going to be great to see. We've got a couple of really quick guys halfway down the grid as well. I think we can expect to see an exciting first race.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Looking down at 9th place, of course, Craig Dolby. He expects to go full throttle and get to the front end the first couple of laps. He likes to be there at the front and really attack, and he's going full out, no reserves whatsoever.
Well, he's a real racer, isn't he, Craig? I mean, he was saying yesterday that qualifying is not really a strong point, but in fact, it was a mistake by the team there, as we saw in qualifying.
It was really disappointing because he had been working very hard throughout the winter to better on his qualifying, and to see it go to waste actually in the first race is really frustrating. But he's happy now. I spoke to him this morning. He's in good spirits, and there's only one thing for Greg right now, and that's win.
Yeah, he's a real racer. We can expect to see him fight through the field, and of course the second race is going to be even more exciting because whoever wins this, they're all going to end up at the back of the grid. So race one coming around towards the start line from the back of the circuit. We can see the guys weaving around. We're on board with poleman Tristan Gomondi.
Yeah, everybody will be on, well, most of the teams will be on used tyres because some of the teams found it very difficult on new tyres to fight the understeer in the car. And the used tyres seem to be a little bit better, and especially for this first race.
Well, they get a balance in the car that they're used to. We saw the cars drop off yesterday badly after 4 laps. These teams only have 4 sets of tyres for the whole weekend, 4 laps, and roughly those tyres have started to drop off to a different level, and the balance of the car changes. The balance of the car will be different again now because we're looking at a full fuel load. The clock that was in the top left of the screen says 40 minutes. That's how long the race will be. 40 minutes plus the lap which the leader is on at the end. So not too far now to come around Assen. The safety car will be pulling off into the pits.
Yeah, we just saw Jelmer Booman, and we know he's one of the fastest cars on the track.
So coming around now then, Gomondi squeezing Bamba. Bamba coming up alongside him. We're looking at this rolling start, ready to head down to the first series of corners. And they're away. Gomondi accelerating hard down from the pole side. He got the jump on Bamba there. Definitely they're heading down. Looks like Dormer's pulling across him behind Bamba. And he's into the first corner clean. Gomondi, it looks like everybody's going to make it through. Pitsonia's dropped a couple of places there. Definitely 1 place down from 4th to 5th. I think possibly Dolby coming up on the inside as well. Hard to tell until we see some of the splits around this series of first right-hand corners.
I see Neil Jarney having a great start. He's on the outside of a couple of cars already. And he looks to be straight there with Antonio Pizzonia.
Hard on the gas now down the straight from that left-hand hairpin. That's the slowest corner on the circuit. Everybody is clean and away. Duncan Tappy at the back of the grid in the Japanese car there. We can see trying just to get a slipstream on that long straight. Everybody will have used push to pass, and the push to pass away from the start. They get 8 push to passes per race. It's up to them when they can use it. When they use it, it lasts for 15 seconds, and then it's another 90 before they can use it. So we've got some graphics on the screens, and we'll be able to show you that as well. John Martin in a big battle, a long way down the grid, was hoping for pole position yesterday and just didn't happen at all.
The back of the grid, it's Philip Salaguarda. And look at Greg Dolby go.
Dolby on a charge. Dornbus now right up underneath Bamba's rear wing as they come through the flat left-hander. Dornbus goes up the inside. He's trying to outbrake Bamba. Bamba looks like he's seen him. Bit of understeer. Dornbus takes 2nd place. He's on a charge now in his home country, in front of his home fans. Bamba is going to try and fight back. Down the front straight. Bamba around the outside, but Dornbus has got the inside line. And he's clear in 2nd place, so Bamba couldn't fight back there. Now it'll be interesting to see. Dornbus may have used push to pass there, and perhaps Bamba can get him back on the back straight.
I'm almost certain he used push to pass there. I'm trying to see if Bamba is going to use it to get back with him.
Top left button on the steering wheel is
the green button there.
Push to pass. Let's see if Bamba goes for push to pass. Doesn't look like he is, so he may save it for the other half. There's 2 places on the circuit here, aren't there, Rick, where you can use push to pass?
Yeah, a good place to do it is before this, well, actually here where you go into this very fast corner, and then the 2 right-handers at the south end of the track. For the moment, it seems to me that Old Bamba is quite happy to sit there behind Robert Doornbos, waiting to see if he makes a mistake.
Settling down into position, so we can see the leader at the minute is Tristan Gomondi for France, heading off. Got a reasonable gap, 1.6 seconds back. Is the 2nd place Robert Dornbus, Netherlands. Dornbus has done a lot of laps here, hasn't he? I mean, he's in front of his home crowd as well. Do you think it makes a difference to the drivers to be in front of their home crowd? Well, is it extra motivation?
Well, you would say that, but he has been away for a long time. He's been in several series outside Holland, actually. He started, of course, in... well, we got to know him in Formula 1 with the Red Bull team, but he also was in Indy, and he doesn't have too many miles on the clock here in Assen, but he knows the track, of course. The one to watch for is Jelmer. Jelmer really knows this track very, very good. Whoa!
At the back of the field here, some movement. It looks like Dolby trying to come around the outside of Berman, who you just mentioned, Jelmer Berman. Dolby's right up underneath him now, hustling him through the complex. Dolby uses a lot of curve. The curves are very low here. He manages to take a huge cut on the inside. He's underneath. Berman big time as they're coming round towards the hairpin. Maybe a push to pass on this back straight here, we'll see.
He should be really careful, though, because if he crosses the white lines too much, he will get a warning from the clerk of the course. So he has to be careful not to be too rough on the edges. Also, I have to say, these curves, usually you can take them very aggressively, only they have been painted to get ready for the MotoGP, which will be here in a couple of weeks. So they're already painted.
So a replay of the start now, and if we look at Gomondi, squeezes Bamba across to the right-hand side and then really gets the jump away. Bamba manages to maintain second. The grid spreads out nicely. There's not too much carnage on the way down to the first corner. Here we can see Gomondi opens the throttle up. Dornbus responds well, almost manages to come around the outside of Bamba.
He uses push to pass right from the start. That's what he told me. If you see me go like a bat out of hell, that's what I did. And I just saw him flick that green switch in the left-hand corner, upper left-hand corner of the steering wheel.
Down into the first corner there, you can see Pitsonia just dropped a single place from fourth down to fifth. Dolby not managed to make up any positions so far. He's still down in ninth. Another driver that some people might be surprised to see towards the back. Replay of here of Dornbus from a couple of laps ago, coming up the inside of Bamba. That's after that flat-out sixth-gear left-hander just before the chicane. A classic overtaking spot here at Assen. And Dornbus made a fantastic move up the inside. So back now with our leader, Tristan Gomondi.
Yeah, Girondin de Bordeaux. It's one of the original football teams that was in the series. And, of course, he's driving for France. A French driver driving for France, and that's really giving him a push to do well in this race.
Well, it's great to see some of these drivers are driving for their home country, some representing other nations, but it's fantastic to see the extra pride. And he was, as we said earlier, I mean, he was just so chuffed to get pole position. And to be fair, this is an absolutely stunning performance from him so far. He's got a decent gap. He's now 2.9 seconds ahead of the second-place man, Robert Dornbus.
Looking at Ho Bin-tung, the Chinese driver here. Oh, no, that's Gordon Tappy.
Duncan Tappy. Yesterday, the Japanese car, they had a problem with the gearbox for free practice 1, so he missed all of free practice 1 and 2. Went out yesterday. Duncan did. Of course, Duncan has been a champion in single-seater racing, Formula Renault in the UK in the past. He's a very good peddler.
Made a mistake there. Sorry about that, Duncan. China there in the, well, last place, 14th place right now.
So we're
looking at the telemetry.
On board now with our leader, Tristan Gomondi. This is that series of right-handed bends. Very hard in not to let the car run wide. Don't forget as well, these guys, the tyres will be settled by now. Anybody who went out on new tyres, if any of them did, will see. And hard on the gas. And it looks third gear. You can see 11,000 RPM, so he's not using push-to-pass on this one. The push-to-pass will allow the drivers to use 12,000 RPM, and it should make a difference of between about 250 and 270, maybe even up to 300 kilometres an hour on the straight.
Yeah, it was accelerating out of the hairpin, and I was listening to the rev counter there and to the revs, and it seems that he didn't have any wheel spin there. Coming out of that hairpin in second gear, no wheel spin. That means that they have got a little bit of a different setup to the other teams.
Certainly, it's one of the key corners, isn't it? If you get wheel spin coming out of that second gear corner, we've got this long section now down the back. This is the other key corner where you must be patient on the throttle. It's third gear on the way up and then up in fourth, fifth and sixth. And now coming up to that very fast left-hander. Watch here for the bravery from Gomondi. Slightest hint of a lift to get the car in, maybe, or maybe just the revs coming off hard on the anchors into the chicane. Not too much curb there. And then away onto the start, finish straight again. 10 minutes into the first race, and we could hear Gomondi there saying to his pit crew, what is the gap? Maybe didn't see his pit board on the way past. And looking at push to pass, we can see that Gomondi and Dornbus have both used 2.
Well, the gap actually is 3.5 seconds.
So he's increased the gap again from his last run around.
And there's Duncan Tappy again, fighting with the Luxembourg, well, the Czech car.
Tappy at the back, as we were saying earlier on, just hasn't had time to get the car ready, basically. He was hamstrung by not having the car quite ready in time because of that gearbox problem. Managed to get some installation laps in yesterday. but not enough to get the car just exactly how they'd like it. They need to get some different parts on board. We're on board now with Craig Dolby for England. Tottenham Hotspur, 0.728 of a second behind Netherlands PSV, which is Jelmer Boerman. Jelmer Boerman yesterday, I mentioned, went fastest in the first section of qualifying, but of course, with Superleague Formula, you then go into the knockout stages, and despite being very quick in his group stage, he made a big mistake in his knockout, didn't he? He had a brake imbalance, I believe, and locked a few wheels on his qualifying lap.
Well, that's the strange thing. They took the car apart, changed all the brake parts, and didn't find anything wrong. So probably, and even the telemetry couldn't tell them exactly what was wrong. So they think that he got onto one of the, well, the dirtier parts of the track on the outside and locked up a little bit.
Pitsonia looks like he might be starting to come under pressure from Andy Soucek, Turkey Galatasaray. Only around 3 minutes to go now. England only have 5 foot to pass, and that's Bamber's been tapped. Bamber into the barriers. It looks like down at the first corner. Was there contact there? He's trying desperately to get the car around. I don't think he's going to make it past that piece of arm coat, whether he makes the barrier or not. Let's listen. Can't hear the team radio. Bamber, we didn't see what happened there. Just cut to the shot just after. He's all the way across the gravel trap. Not happy on the pit wall. They want to know exactly what's happened. Bamber will be very unhappy. Bamber was sitting, of course, in 3rd place. Was chasing Dornbus down, who'd got him earlier on.
Well, he's got it in reverse.
Here's the replay. Bamber tries to go up the inside of Dornbus. Comes in a little bit too fast, runs wide onto the grass, and then just can't hang onto the car. The weight transfer comes back the other way, all the way across the gravel. He's on the brakes, desperately trying not to get contact, but that's a fair clout into the wall, isn't it?
Yeah, he hit the wall. There should be some damage there, but the car is running and he can go back to the pits, I hope.
Bamber rejoins. Well, certainly, here we are, another replay on board with Bamber. So possibly using push to pass. We can't see from there. Comes up the inside, but he just can't quite get the car turned in. He gets out on the loose. When he gets on the gas, you can see it moves all the way across the tyre. He was a little bit unlucky there, wasn't he?
It was a bit too fast in and couldn't keep the car on the road, understeering into the gravel. And then, well, it's bye-bye, that's all she wrote.
Well, brave move by Bamber. It just goes to show how hard you've got to try to pass in this formula. Of course, all the drivers are in identical cars. They've all got identical engines. They're all on the same compound of tyre, and that's why it's great, Superleague Formula, just to see these overtakes where people have to be so brave. You have to take a risk if you want to make a place up, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. He was really close to Robert Dornbos. There might have been some disruption of the aerodynamics of the car. That's why he was probably understeering. Not too much pressure on the front wing.
He was nicely up the inside, wasn't he? When he had track position, but unfortunately just hadn't got it slowed down enough. So on board now with Jelmer Boerman, Netherlands PSV, down that long straight at the back of the circuit, and the corner which is at the end here. Hard on the brakes. You can hear him on the rev limiter there into this one, cambered heavily in your favour, and the camber again comes from the fact that the bike's working, and that's why the curbs are so low.
He's coming up now to the back straight, and he looks to be very fast.
Gaining on Galatasaray, Turkey in front of him. Was half a second quicker on lap 5, and then lost only a couple of thousandths, and then again half a second quicker, so he's piling the pressure on. We can see the graphic on the screen now, how many people are using push to pass. It's red when they're using push to pass, and the number tells you how many they've got left.
Well, you can see very clearly that he was sacrificing the entrance of the corner to get a good straight line speed out of the corner, accelerating out.
Turkey Galatasaray there. That was Andy Soucek using his push to pass. He's trying to defend himself. Cars coming past now. The noise from these V12s is absolutely incredible. Pitsonia still in 5th place for Brazil. And down at the back, Earl Bamber there in 14th place now for New Zealand, with all that trouble he had at the first corner. Spent a long time up against the barriers and in the gravel. Managed to rejoin though. And the pit stop window should be opening in literally just a few seconds' time.
That's exactly what's going to happen. The pits will be open. Happy to see what's going to happen there.
Compulsory pit stop in Superleague Formula. Everybody has to stop once within the 10-minute window.
It's still closed, but it will be opening up very soon.
Pit closes in 9 minutes 45, so the count on the screen now is to tell you how long is left. So 15 minutes into the race, it's open for 10 minutes.
10 minutes where everything has to be done. They have to change the wheels.
Now, do we know what tactics? You spoke to some of the drivers earlier on. You said most of the people have started on used tyres. We know that we've got some guys who've got new tyres left. Are we going to be seeing people take new tyres or not?
Well, I think you will see that most of them will use tyres in the first race because they want to have a clean new set for the second race. It's Bobby D coming in.
Dornbus coming in for the first stop then. He's chosen to stop from second place. Tristan Gormandi carries on for another lap. So she's going to be key to see whether or not Dornbus can get any kind of an overlap. We'll try and see what tyres he puts on. Limited number of people, lots of people coming into the pit now. 5, 6 people coming into the box. France has stayed out for that extra lap. Gormandi, of course, had a good advantage. Dornbus up on the jacks. Only 6 people here. Looks like he's fitted used tyres on. Dornbus is released and away. You can see a very busy pit lane. Has to back off there as Dolby comes in. Pitsonia leaving from slightly further down. Pitsonia now coming away. So it looks like Pitsonia has managed to jump Dornbus possibly in those stops.
Yeah, we still have 3 cars out there. The Netherlands 1.
Push start there as well. That's Neil Jarni in the RSC Anderlecht car. It's a dreadful stop for them, losing loads and loads of time.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt him.
So we'll see now as the next lap comes up just exactly what those stops have done to the overall order.
Actually, of course, you don't have to come in when the pit lane opens. You can wait until the very last second of opening in the pit lane to come in. That's getting it very close, of course. But if you come in 9 minutes 59, you'll still be okay.
Well, Gormandi, of course, had a reasonable gap. I think he was up by 3 or 4 seconds. 3 seconds at the end of the last lap. And we'll see now, he's decided he's going to pit. So he comes into his box, watching now, see whether or not we can get a shot of Gormandi down in the pits. You can see he's on the pit lane speed limit of just 60 kilometres now. Feels so slow for the drivers as they come down. His lollipop man will be there ready to draw him into the right box. And then the 6 guys will go to work to try and get him back out as fast as they can, see if they can get him out in front. So Burman now, it looks like Jelmer Burman. Has Jelmer Burman taken the lead?
He should have, because France is in and Jelmer Burman should be in first place now. That means that they're really attacking this race in a different way. They have a different strategy to the others. They keep him out. And it looks like he and Tapie are the only ones. No, Hopintung and Bamber not in.
We can see now exiting the pits. Australia, John Martin, another guy who didn't have a very good qualifying yesterday. Martin was saying he was hoping to put the car on pole position. He certainly didn't manage that, unfortunately. He didn't look very happy at all when he came into the pits. Not happy with the car, not happy with his driving. He's been out the car for around 7 months. A lot of these drivers have been out the car for a long time. Pit lane time at the bottom of your screen there for China, Hopintung. 6.5 minutes left with the pits open. Car streaming down the back straight. Now in comes Earl Bamber. It might be a chance here for the crew just to get a brief look at his suspension and see whether or not the car is damaged. I would suspect if he was going to retire, he would have done so by now. Tyres are on. So we might see Bamber, if he ends up at the back of the race, of course, we may see Bamber on pole for both the races. The next grid being reversed right underneath our commentary position. Incredible noise. Bamber there lights the tyres up and back up to 60 kilometres an hour and away. So, leading Jelmer Burman in the Netherlands PSV Eindhoven car. He has not been into the pits yet. Neither has Duncan Tapie for Japan, who's currently in 5th. And also Maria de Biota for Spain, who lies in 9th place, has not been into the pits either.
Looking at the push to pass, Jelmer Burman has got 5.
Dolby all over the back of John Martin.
He's got 5 and 3 for Dolby and 3 for Bobby D, Robert Dornbos. So they're very careful using that push to pass. That means that they still have
Dolby
it.
out round the outside of John Martin. Easily passes John down into the first corner there. Martin running wide now as well. Far too far. That's where Bamber made the mistake. Doesn't end up in the barriers. Manages to hang on to it. John Martin managing to hang on to that. So just being knocked offline by Craig Dolby's pass up the inside.
Maria de Biota
leaves the pits for Spain. So we're now only waiting on Jelmer Burman for Netherlands PSV and for Duncan Tapie for Japan. So Duncan Tapie running up in 2nd place. Replay now. Dolby darting out from the back. John Martin comes across to the inside. He's going to defend. But Dolby was well clear of him by the time they got down, and then in fact makes a mistake, leaves his braking too late and runs wide as well. So here we can see another look at it. Just suffering from understeer, you can see, gets across the grass. It's when that wheels light up on the grass, really struggles to hold on to it, but managed where Earl Bamber didn't earlier on in the race.
Yeah, great save by John Martin.
down into the pits. Duncan Tappy, that must be coming into the pits for Japan.
That leaves Yilma Burman, the only one, and there he is.
Burman's in as well, so it looks then like Tristan Gomondi, after all the pit stops, Gomondi has returned back to where he was with the pit window opened. Everybody's pitted. Pit window, another 4 minutes. No one's chosen to leave it too late. Duncan up on the jacks there, waiting. Duncan Tappy for Japan, waiting for his wheels to come back on. Pit Sonia now.
Also already be on temperature because they have been heating up for about an hour now, and they're up to temperature of 100 degrees.
It looks like Philippe Salacada there Philippe Salacada giving an enormous amount of pressure again to John Martin. John Martin seems to really be struggling with the car right now. Everybody's all over him. He's falling backwards. Really maybe struggling to get the car turned in on the exit. Let's see how good his traction is compared to Salacada. Long straight now, Salacada right in the slipstream for John Martin. These large cars make a big hole in the air. Is he going to try and make a move at the end of the straight? It's a fairly fast corner. It would be a brave move down into there, and he thinks better of it. Following very closely, but these wide tyres do allow some mechanical grip, so not so bad in terms of not being able to turn the car in and down towards the end of the circuit. So John Martin under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they were fighting the understeer yesterday, and I think they're still fighting the understeer. Lots of grip on the rear, no grip on the front. That's how they described it this morning. They have sacrificed the straight line speed to...
Maria Di Biotta was back in the pits again. That's a second stop. It's an unscheduled stop for Di Biotta there. Sorry, I interrupted, Rick. Understeer for John Martin.
They have sacrificed straight line speed, but it looks to be okay because he still manages to keep the Czech car behind. That's Salacada, of course.
So important, these settings, aren't they? I mean, looking at the split times yesterday again, Duncan Tappy, who really struggled with that Japanese car not being set up. In fact, he had great straight line speed down the back. He was the fastest through the speed trap. He was even quick through the first sector, but they couldn't make the car work around the second 2 sectors of the circuit. A whole lap of pressure now for John Martin.
Yeah, Philippe Salacada looking left and right to pass him, but we're looking at the leader in the race, and that's Tristan Gomondi.
Who's also just set the fastest lap, 1:26.1 for Tristan Gomondi. He's looking very, very much the favourite to take this first race of the Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011. Of course, 3 races on this Grand Prix weekend. Gomondi taking pole, and currently a long way out in front.
One car slowing down.
It is indeed. That looks possibly like Maria Di Biotta again.
It looks like her, yeah.
So maybe a problem. Di Biotta driving the Spanish car, Atletico Madrid, not having a great weekend. Of course, she went off yesterday in qualifying, a spin down near where El Bamba went off and lost her front wing and didn't actually manage to... Well, she set one time, but it was an out lap, so it was that's why she ended up at the back of the grid. Yilma Burman in a string of 3 cars coming down towards that chicane. They can use some of the curb look, then hard on the gas and away.
He actually did very well by staying out because he's now in 4th place. And he, before the pit stops, he was in 8th place. So he did very well staying out and taking full advantage of an empty circuit.
So some clear track. You think he put in some great laps through there and managed to leapfrog several places. Pit Sonia back in again.
Yep. Not happy. Looking at the body language, not happy with the set of tyres that he got. They're changing 4 tyres.
Well, it's a brave decision to come in for a second set. I mean, it must have been a disaster in terms of the settings. You can see that
setting is so important here. Actually, a few teams have adopted a different setup for this race than the others, and that has to do with how you attack a corner. You can choose either to go slow into the corner and fast out, or the other way around, and that really determines your setup.
Bowman now on the back of Salacada, applying pressure to Salacada. So a 3-way fight now. Salacada in a difficult position, would like to pass the car in front, but he's also trying to defend from behind.
Difficult position, of course, because these cars are built to overtake and get close. It is very exciting racing.
Luxembourg having a look up the inside there of Dornbus.
That's Fred on the straight. It looks to be over for Maria Di Biotta. That's really a shame. She really wanted to do well in this first race for Spain, and disappointed faces in the pits, of course.
And we've... Oh, that's our leader, Tristan Gomondi, at the side of the track. Our leader is at the side of the track. It looks like a technical problem. The park parts are all intact on the car. There's no damage, but Gormandi will be devastated. We saw how emotional he was yesterday when he took pole position. The leader, Tristan Gormandi, who had a comfortable lead of 5.5 seconds, is at the side of the track at a standstill, and that means that Dornbus is going to take the lead. As we see Jelmer Burman up the inside of Philippe Salakada, Czech Republic, dropping a place down. So now we've got the two Dutch drivers at the head of the field, Robert Dornbus for Netherlands and Jelmer Burman for Netherlands PFC, and the French driver is out. Listen to the replay here.
No throttle cable is broken.
No throttle cable. So he says throttle cable. It could be. It depends whether it's fly-by-wire or whether either way he has no throttle response. He's using the throttle pedal. He's getting no gas. That's devastating for the French team. Absolutely devastating.
Yeah. He walks back to the pits. Nothing you can do. It's a mechanical sport. Something can go wrong, but it's really, really frustrating if it happens if you're in front.
Well, Lisa is down in the pits, Lisa Leyland, and we know that Tristan Gormandi is walking back up from the pit exit, so he's at the far end of the pit lane. Hopefully Lisa can head down there and head him off. I'm not sure he's going to want to talk to us, but we'd love to hear him. So emotional to take pole position. Was doing a dominant drive in this first race. He was clearly the fastest driver out there. We can see here it's not.
Now, well, picture speaks louder than words. Yeah, he stays in the garage, and that's okay.
Helmet on top of the box, earplugs out. If it's only a small fault, don't forget the turnaround time now for Superleague Formula, because we've got this fantastic format where we get to see all three races live in 2.5 hours, means there is very little time to turn these cars around. But hopefully for Gormandi, if it is only a throttle response problem, that should be fixable, and we'll be able to see him fight his way back from the back of the grid. Alongside old Bamber, of course, who we've seen off the road. Maria De Biotta has retired, and the net result of all of that is... We're listening in to say about push to pass. Listening to hear what the crew was saying. Didn't quite catch the replay there of what the crew was saying. We're on board with Jelmer Burman, obviously asking something to do with push to pass. He's trying desperately to catch up with Robert Dornbus.
I think he was asking, can I use it? Shall I use it? Let's see if he still has some.
We've got Lisa down in the pits. Lisa down in the pits, I believe. Okay, not. So we're still with Jelmer Burman exiting that second gear left-hander off straight, hard on the gas. Not trying to get too much wheel spin. He does look to be closing on Dornbus.
Yeah, it looks like he's used this push to pass because he's suddenly on the tail of Robert Dornbus. He is going to have his hands full keeping Jelmer behind him, because Jelmer is one of the fastest drivers on this track. And he's got this car set up perfectly, and I think a little bit different than the Dornbus car.
Data on the right-hand side, gear at the top, throttle position, then brake, and how many push to pass are left. Speed is at the bottom, and revs, and then you can see the G-force in the middle. So full telemetry here with Superleague Formula.
Great for Andy Soucek as well. He's in fourth place, 0.9 of a second behind the leader, and he's closing up on the leading three. And I can tell you exactly why, because these two in front, they know exactly what they need to do, so they're really taking it easy. There's 6 minutes to go. No one is going to do anything until the last possible moment, or when the other makes a mistake.
So, of course, both these guys, in fact, all of the top four now only have one push to pass left, so they should know they're roughly in the same position. We can see the top four really squeezing up. There's barely anything in it, to be fair, between the entire of the top 7, 8. There's only 10 seconds between the top 8.
Well, it could be that the Belgium car is holding some trump cards there, because he's still got two push-to passes left. So that means that he's in 5th place. He can see what's going to happen in front of him as well and react to it.
So around towards the finish of the race, 5 minutes 30 to go. You can see fastest lap times, Netherlands, Robert Dornbus, our current leader, 1:26.8. Netherlands PSV, 1:26.5 was from Jelmer Burman. Both two guys fighting for the win.
Bit disappointed for the China car, hoping to really Disappointment with the performance of the car yesterday. They couldn't find it. They were very late on getting the car ready. They worked all night, burning the midnight oil, trying to find it. Completely changed the setup for the car, and it basically had a new car this morning. So disappointing to see that it's not working yet, but they will get there.
Down in the garages there, we can see all the various different team members and family members intently watching the monitors, looking to see what happens. Flat out left-hander, Dolby up to 6th place. You can see he's using a push-to-pass there. These two guys, though, Dornbus and Burman, at their home round of Superleague Formula Nations Cup, both want to win. Both have got one push-to-pass. We might see Dornbus use it to defend himself from Burman if he figures out when Burman's going to use it. And in that 3rd place, Vervish is all over the back of them now in the Luxembourg car as well, also with one push-to-pass left.
Actually, Greg Dolby's getting closer and closer to the leading 4 as well. He's used his push-to-pass to close the gap, and now he's in with a chance as well. You can't say how this one is going to finish.
Definitely not. Luxembourg now just 3/10 behind. Again, down the back straight, 4 minutes left. Duncan Tappy got the most push-to-passes left down in 9th place. Probably not too many people to push-to-pass down there, so not using up his quota. I'm sure he'll be working on the settings of the Japan car. Antonio Pizzonia in 10th place. You know, he's had to make some 2 tyre stops. Australia in 8th. John Martin.
Yeah, Petonia still might be struggling with the fact that he hadn't had a lot of open wheel experience in the last years. He was in Brazil doing the Stock Car Brazil with a Peugeot, would you know it, a Stock Car Peugeot with V8 engine. It's kind of a NASCAR formula there, and he's getting to grips with the open wheel racing again.
Dolby now catching up as we're on board with Turkey coming up the inside. Around that flat left, manages to close the door, so takes the position. So Turkey up into 3rd place. Push the pass, that was.
Yeah, he overtook the Belgian driver, Belgian team Anglex.
It looks in fact that Luxembourg there trying very hard. That was Frederick Vervish is trying to respond by using his push to pass. And at the back we can see Pizzonia as well, so Pizzonia must be near somebody for doing that. Replay here. Comes around this very fast section in the back, push to pass, carries the extra speed, pops out from the slipstream with the 1,000 extra RPM as well. And he's far enough in front, brave to turn in there, commits, just believes that he's passed. If the other car was up the inside, disaster there. Very, very quick part of the circuit.
Very strange sounding onboard picture there.
Around the outside, Burman has used his push to pass. Dornbus launches it over the top. Both cars down through the inside. They've both gone way off the track. We'll see whether they get penalised. Coming up behind now, the Turkey car around the outside. Dornbus must have damage from that launch, surely defending the push to pass from Burman on the way down. Carnage.
Absolute mayhem there, but the thing is, look at this, the strength of these cars. They're both still in front. Yilmaz Burman won, and Dornbus is still in 2nd. If he can close the door every time on Turkey, he has 1 minute 54 to race. He can still be 2nd with that kind of a shunt.
Are we going to see maybe the race steward saying about how the guys have left the track? We can see that Dornbus' front wing is badly damaged. Dornbus' front wing hanging off. We're going to see Andy Soucek apply huge pressure here in the Turkey Galatasaray car. He comes around, he's right underneath. Dornbus doesn't get a good exit from the chicane. Maybe couldn't get traction. Galatasaray Turkey up the inside. Soucek's coming past. Everybody's all over Dornbus, but he's holding on tight, locks his wheels around the outside for Soucek. Can he make it stick? He's on the grass. We've now got 3 cars up the inside. Soucek spins. All actually, Dolby's up there as well. 4 cars all over the back of Dornbus. It looks like Borman's away in the lead.
Yeah, there's a big traffic jam behind Robert Dornbus. 1 minute to go. That's 1 minute of closing all the gaps, all the...
Neil Jarni runs wide as well. Dolby up the inside. Some opposite lock coming up behind Luxembourg. Frederick Vervish is still in there. Incredible action. Just 55 seconds to go here. The first round of the championship. And this is what Superleague Formula brings you. Fantastic racing. Dolby struggling to get the car turned in. Big understeer in the chicane.
Actually, not the right setup for the England car. And look at Dornbus. The car is limping around the circuit, but he manages to close all the gaps that are there.
30 seconds to go. Are they going to make it back across the finish line? Dornbus now without the front downforce. He's locking wheels left, right and centre. He'll do well to hold off Vervish for Luxembourg, and Dolby for England. Dolby, of course, he had such a shocking qualifying. Vervish tried to get up the inside. Dornbus shuts the door. Dolby's in a good position here. Neil Jarni is right in behind him. Jarni up behind contact with Burman, who's way off in the lead. Continue, last lap. His team are calling continue. It's the last lap. He must finish. So now, well, my goodness me, my heart is racing. Jelmer Burman, Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven, sat behind his stalked Dornbos for so long. We had contact. We need to see a replay of that at some point. It'd be interesting to see if the stewards get involved. Could we have had any more action in the very first race of Superleague Formula 2011?
Well, now, I have to say the series has sold me. I'm sold.
So we're going to be doing the last lap now, and then we'll go to some replays, and we'll try and give you some analysis on Burman going past Dornbos as I try and catch my breath. Craig Dolby, what a great drive. So Burman now can relax. He has a gap of 8 seconds, as we don't know if he's carrying any damage from that contact either. Dornbos' contact from when he launched over the curbs. It looks to me as though Jelmer Burman, who set the fastest time in the first qualifying session yesterday and then was knocked out with locking wheels, comes around the flat-out left-hander and down towards the chicane for the final time. Jelmer Burman for Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven, crosses the finish line and takes the checker flag. It's Burman for the win for the first round of Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011. He wins at home. Craig Dolby exits the chicane for England over the finish line from 9th on the grid into 2nd place, and in 3rd place, Philippe Salacada. No, not Philippe, Frederic Verzies for Luxembourg, confused in the excitement as they come over the line. And now we see Neil Yarni as well. My goodness me, top 3, I need to catch my breath.
Yeah, I can imagine. What a race. I'd like to see that replay again, because what happened there was a great fight between Jelmer Burman and Robert Dornbos. Dornbos got launched. We're on board with Jelmer.
So Jelmer very excited. We didn't quite catch what the team radio said. We know we've got some replays coming up after we've seen the finish. Absolutely outstanding finish. So Jelmer Burman first for Netherlands, Craig Dolby 2nd for England, Tottenham Hotspur. In 3rd place, Frederic Vervies for Luxembourg. 4th place was Belgium, which is Neil Jarni.
That's Bobby D walking back. Actually, the yellow helmet is new for this race. Here we see the replay. That's the fight for 2nd place.
Luxembourg around, and then Dornbos makes contact with the back of Luxembourg, which is why his wing finally gave up the ghost. He comes here, you can see on the exit, runs wide, the car in front, and then he tries to take the undercut to get back around him and loses the front wing. Well, that's it, game over, and around the outside, left-hand side, Craig Dolby comes. He knows it's over. Dornbos lifts, he shakes his fist in frustration, and also defeat, that's it. Watching Dolby from behind here, we can see Luxembourg running wide. Dornbos runs up the back of him, leaves Dolby completely clear to go. This was that outstanding, well, we thought it was outstanding at the time, pass. He shuts the door. Okay, so Dornbos had nowhere to go. He had nowhere to go. Burman closed the door, he turned in. Dornbos was still up his inside. He took the curb. He seems to have found the one high curb on the circuit, which launches his car high into the air. Here we're on board now around the outside with Burman. He just turns in. I mean, does he have track position or not? Up the inside comes Dornbos, and then they have to take an enormous cut across the flat-out left-handed section from in front. Burman.
Here they are dicing, and Dornbos just hits one of the markers that tells the drivers not to drive there.
What do you
not
think?
To cut the corners.
What do you think? There's that one for the stewards. Is it a racing incident? It's hard to see.
It might be. I'm not quite sure.
Down in the pits now. Without
Jelmer Burman.
He looks a happy boy. He's looking at the car to see if there's any damage. He knows that there was contact.
I would really like to know his version of the story.
Indeed. So Lisa will be down there with the winner. So
that's his father there.
He looks very happy. We'll be able to hear from Jelmer Burman, but also it'd be great to hear about that pass that he made on Dornbos. What was his take on the pass with Dornbos? So Lisa is down in the pits. Lisa Leyland is stood next to Jelmer Burman. He's out the car.
It could have been more eventful there at the end.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear a lot from what you said, but it was a nice battle. I mean, it's a shame we touched. I think he was on the curb, and he couldn't do a lot about it. So, I mean, that's racing, that happens. But now we got the car ready for the 2nd race, because it was little time. And super happy. I mean, team did a great job yesterday. We had a problem. We just changed everything just to make sure it didn't happen again. So great thumbs up for the guys.
So in completely different spirits than what you were at the end of qualifying yesterday then?
Yes, definitely.
Congratulations, thank you.
Yeah, while this is happening, of course, the teams are working very hard to get the cars ready for the 2nd race
back on board again. One more look at this pass. So Burman comes around the outside.
Yeah, there was nowhere to go.
Yeah, there was for me, there was nowhere to go for Dornbus. That angle, we can't quite see whether or not. I don't think that Burman was far enough past. You know, Burman, he's going to take the opinion, oh, it's a racing incident because he doesn't want a penalty, but whether or not the stewards will think the same. Coming alongside now, I'm not convinced that he's left a lot of room. He's had to turn in early because he's carrying a lot of speed himself, and just Dornbus has got nowhere to go. I mean, Dornbus, I don't think he could have got on the brakes hard enough. Again, alongside, you can see the front wheels at level there. The contact, of course, is when Dornbus is launched across the curve and into the side.
This could have been a really nasty one.
Lisa down in the pits with Craig Dolby.
Craig, congratulations, second position there. You took full advantage at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be difficult. We had a bad pit stop. Other than that, we were close where I wanted to be. I'd say push the passes for the end. And I could see the guy, I think Dornbus at the front, was slowing everyone down. So I saved my push to pass the last 3 laps, and it worked. So it was a good couple of laps at the end, but a long, hard race, and now we've got to go and do it all again.
Just tell us what's happened here at your wrist. Is it you in any pain at all?
Just my arm. I pulled it a couple of days ago in training, and it's hurting right now. But you know, we're all human. We'll go out and enjoy it, and yeah, get myself fired up and do it again.
Thanks, Craig. Well done.
Cheers.
There we are then. Craig Dolby very happy with his result, up from 9th and ends in 2nd position. The winner, Jelmer Burman, Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven. Craig Dolby for England, Tottenham Hotspur was in 2nd place. Frederik Vervisch, 3rd place for Luxembourg. We had Neil Jarny, came 4th for Belgium, good run by him. Philippe Salakada, Czech Republic, Sparta Prague, he ends up in 5th place. John Martin, not a bad recovery either, having had not a great qualifying yesterday, although we did see him struggling with the balance of the car in 6th. Duncan Tapia, good result for Japan, because Duncan was at the back of the grid. The car only built a couple of days ago, and they really struggled all weekend, so good to see Duncan stick it out through the race. Antonio Pizzonio, we saw him pit twice for tyres. He ends up in 8th for Brazil. And we also saw there as well, Earl Bamber, having gone off the track, has ended up further down the order. We've got Lisa downstairs with Dornbus.
Robert, I know you're in the lead for quite a bit. Just tell us your side of the story, what happened there at the end.
Well, you know, it was fun. I had a very fun race. We started 3rd, got 2nd quite early on the first lap, and then I was leading for most of the race. And I knew Jelmer was behind me, but I had a decent gap, and then he tried to pass me on the outside in the chicane, and he left me no room. So I had to jump through the grass and bent the suspension. That was it. So basically, he destroyed my day. And not a very smart move, and that's it. So we're out. Thank you, Superleague. See you next time.
So, thank you, Superleague. I mean, he's kind of indicating there that he doesn't think he might be back out for this next race. We mentioned it already, but these feature races are back-to-back now. I mean, we've only got literally 40 minutes re-prep time. We see one more time if you haven't seen this order. This is the second moment. This is where Dornbus has been passed and then runs up the back and loses his front wing. So he's lost his front wing, but he's indicating that the suspension is damaged, probably from that launch. Anyway, of course, racing cars not designed to be flying 2 feet in the air. And he says, thank you, Super League. But we'll see. Maybe his team can get it turned around. They've got a lot of work to do, haven't they, inside 40 minutes?
Absolutely. They have to get fuel in for the second race. That's 100 kilos of fuel. That's 8 minutes of fuel taking on board, and then the first 3 have to go to scrutineering for a quick checkup, because they have to check the weight of the car and the measurements, the wings. That's only a few things that need to be done. You see the people, the marshals, they're repairing the pylon that's there to keep the drivers from cutting the corners too much.
So some work there for them to be doing as well, work on repairing the car as well, and work on the cars to be done to get everybody back in. So there's a lot to be done. Maria Di Bellotta's car being returned to the pits as well. Maybe the French car, actually, it might have been Gourmandi's car being returned.
Actually, it's the team manager of Robert Dornbos's car that has to report to race control.
There we are. Fantastic first race for Superleague Formula. We're at Assen for round 1 of Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011. Race 2 coming up. This is the calendar we've got coming up for the rest of the year. So the first Grand Prix weekend here in Assen, followed by Zolder in Belgium, Smolensk in Russia,
Beijing in China, and then down to Curitiba and Guyana in Brazil, Middle East, and then down to Taupo for New Zealand. So what a fantastic race we've just seen. An incredible first round of Superleague Formula for this year. All action. We're going to have a look back at race 1. So we saw the rolling start. Tristan Gormandi squeezing Earl Bamber across. He got a great run away. We didn't have any problems at all on that first lap. Gormandi getting the jump. Dornbus coming up around the outside as well. But Earl Bamber managing to hang on to his position. And Pitsonia dropping back 1 place from 4th to 5th. Not too many problems right up until the first pit stops. Everybody was clear. We can see here Dornbus making a pass on Bamber into the chicane. But out in front, Frenchman Gormandi was having a trouble-free run. Bamber tried to repass Dornbus, ran wide onto the grass and ended up in the gravel. Couldn't quite hang on to the car all the way across, clouts the barrier. But they managed to drag the car back and get him back on. Left-hand side of your circuit there, you've got Maria de Biotta pulling over, problems with her car. And then Frenchman Gormandi from a comfortable lead, devastated, disgusted even, throws the headrest out the car. Jelmer Berman was making his way up through the field, chasing down hard. The car seemed to come to him as the race was going on. The Frenchman back in the pits, slightly calmer after the disappointment of retiring from the race. And this was where the action really started. Berman caught up to Dornbus. He chased him for a long time. And it seemed, in fact, that he was holding up the entire field. He made his move. Dornbus had nowhere to go, launched it over the curbs. His car was damaged. Berman went off into the distance, and Dornbus came under enormous pressure from several cars. He was locking wheels with the loss of his front wing. Turkey Andy Soucek span around the outside, having tried to put Dornbus under pressure. He went off where Bamber had struggled earlier on, and then finally Dornbus ran up the back of Frederik Verviesche Luxembourg, lost his front wing, and Dolby took advantage right at the death of the race around the outside, coming up from 9th into 2nd. So we can see Berman crosses the line in first place, takes a home win. Very, very happy about that indeed, in front of his home country. So here are those results for you. Netherlands PSV, Jelmer Berman in first place, 50 points. Craig Dolby for England in second with 45. Frederik Verviesche Luxembourg, 40 points for third place. Neil Jarni for Belgium RSC Anderlecht, 36 points for fourth. And Czech Republic Sparta Prague, Philippe Salakada, 32 points. John Martin for Australia, 29. Duncan Tappy with 26 points. Pitsonia for Brazil, 23. Earl Bamber after that off manages to come home in 9th with 20 points. And Ho Pin Tung for China with 18 in 10th. Netherlands Dornbus managed to get the car all the way around to the finish despite that damage. 16 points. Whether or not we'll see him in the next race, we're not quite sure. Spain Atletico Madrid, 14 points. Turkey Galatasaray, 12. And France Girondins de Bordeaux. Poor old Gormandi, after such a stunning start, started from pole position in the first race, and with the reverse grid will be starting from pole position again in the second. So you wouldn't bet against him, I don't think, would you? I've got alongside me Rick Bolt, a Dutch commentator, knows the circuit very well indeed. Fantastic first race there, wasn't it? Gormandi for France. I mean, he's now going to be starting from pole again. Would you say he can do the business if the team can get the car ready?
Absolutely. I think that they will have the car ready. It seemed to be a throttle problem. I would imagine the time that he went out that they were able to repair that, and then we'll see him back in front again. Quick look at the track again. The two south end corners there, very important. Two sectors where we measure time. Of course, you have the slower part of the track, the hairpin. Very important how you get that one, how you accelerate out. So an exciting track, which has a very flowing and smooth tarmac.
We're going to have a look at a lap with Craig Dolby. We've got a lap on board with Craig Dolby. Easily flat in fifth during the race. And you mustn't let the car run too wide. Increasing G-forces all the way through here. Lots of downforce on these cars. And now coming up to another key corner on the circuit. This left-hander here is a second gear hairpin. Slowest corner on the circuit. And the exit of it is vital to get good speed down the straight. These V12 cars get a lot of wheel spin on the exit here.
up through the gears. This will be one of the prime positions for using the push-to-pass system, which will give an extra 1,000 revs and take the top speed from 270 to 300 kilometres an hour. Braking very, very hard indeed for turn 6 here. 4th gear, you can really attack it. It's got a good camber in your favour. Of course, the circuit was a bike circuit, which means a lot of the corners are cambered. Now around the right-hander, Steckenval, which is the most banked, and up towards the 4th gear left-hander De Boult. Turn 10 is next. Another key corner here, 3rd gear. You need to be very patient on the throttle as you exit through here, because the whole of the next section is flat out if you manage to get traction. Again, another section where you can use push to pass. 6th gear, flat out through turn 12. One more kink, turn 13. And then we have the enormously quick and brave Ramshaw, because you come back towards the start-finish straight. 6th gear, holding on hard for the car, braking very late for the chicane in, and then hoping to get a nice clean exit, which Dolby here doesn't, running wide and using the curbs, and back over the start-finish line for another lap at Assen. There are a great on-board lap with Craig Dolby, who showed just how much of a racer he is in that last race. We said yesterday he didn't have a great qualifying yesterday, Dolby. Got knocked out after his team said that he was through, and of course he wasn't. He ended up 9th, and he managed to race his way all the way back into 2nd position in that last race. We're looking at Doornbos's car. What's your thoughts?
Well, Greg Dolby, of course, an out-and-out racer, and Doornbos will be miffed that this happened, and he's out, of course. Czech Republic doing okay with Philip Salaquada. Team's working very hard right now, because they also have to, well, they put in fuel, of course, and they have to top off the fuel, the fluids. Some oil check has to be done, and the driver has to take some fluids as well, because you lose a lot of fluid during this race. It's not too warm, so I would guess about 2 kilos a race. So, and one more thing that's very important they have to do, and usually do that to the pre-grid, which we will be seeing, and then in the pre-grid they will reset the push to pass, because if they don't do that, and to do that they have to shut down the system completely, so no engine, no electricity, to reset the push to pass, and that takes about 2 minutes.
Well, we've seen fantastic action here from race 1. We had some action even before the race weekend began. We had a fantastic street show down in Assen.
So welcome to the first round of the Superleague Formula Championships 2011, and the racing is going to start right here on the streets of Assen. How excited is it to have this championship here on your very doorstep?
It's very exciting, all those people, this beautiful weather. It's, I think for Assen it's very interesting to get so much people on the races here.
You don't see it every day. This is cool to see it. Do your children like it?
They enjoy racing, but not the noise.
The speed of the cars is the most beautiful thing of the world.
It's the hassle, it's the rumble, it is rumble in the jungle. It is really a man's world. I love it.
It must be great to have the opening weekend here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially to drive downtown, you know, with a race car. That's amazing.
It's great to see all the Dutch fans, and they're very excited and passionate about motorsports in general. So it's very good to, it gives me a little edge to perform better.
Perfect start to the championship here in Assen. The crowds have been absolutely amazing here to support their drivers. The street circuit's been fantastic. Weather's been beautiful, which is the bonus. This is the street. Now it's time to head over to the circuit.
Down in the pitch, she's got Hope in Tongue with China with her.
Tell us quickly how your first race went.
Big disaster. We seem to have a big problem with the car, and somehow we don't manage to solve it. It's very, very hard to drive and very disappointing.
Okay, thank you.
So Hope in there was in the car and ready to go, and wasn't quite ready to listen to Lisa, but you can see there, very, very disappointed with his first race.
Yeah, of course. Well, you should remember that he had a major crash in IndyCar, on pole day of IndyCar 500 just 2 weeks ago, and had a concussion. So that might be in the back of his head as well. The other thing that they did is that they weren't able to find the right setup yesterday, and that puts you on a back burner, because you need to adjust today, and they tried everything they could in a short amount of time. They worked really hard, changed the setup completely, but obviously weren't able to find the thing that was wrong with the car in the setup. But it is a setup problem. The engine is okay, the mechanics are okay. That's no problem. So it is a setup problem. They just couldn't find it in time.
There's quite a lot of people, aren't there, who really are going to need to do some work on their settings for this next race. Heavy cars, of course, they've done one race now, everything's hot, brakes and things, the bias of the cars will have changed.
You have to appreciate, of course, that they didn't have too much time to prepare for this race, so everybody's still guessing a bit, but some are guessing a bit better than others.
Okay, race 2, as I say, seeing the winners from the last race right at the back, and the losers, those who didn't do quite so well in race 1, will be at the front. So we should be looking at Tristan Gourmandi. Here he is, the Frenchman, at the very front of the grid. And Andy Soucek for Turkey, looking...
Well, he's on used tyres. Soucek is on used tyres, so I'm exciting to see what comes out from under the blankets, the tyre warmers with the French car. The tyres have been in the tyre warmers for about an hour already. So already now they have to decide and prepare the tyres for race number 3. So it's a very strategic competition as well.
Maria Di Biotto, who retired from the first race. We didn't quite understand why. Here's the grid. Tristan Gourmandi taking pole position, of course, because he retired from that last race. Andy Soucek, Turkey Galatasaray, lines up second. Maria Di Biotto in third, and Ho Pin Tung in fourth. So the 4 biggest losers, because of their problems in the first race, end up at the front of the grid for race 2. Oh, Bamba, who went off, we saw him up against the barrier for several seconds. He's on row 3. He lines up with Antonio Pizzonia for Brazil. Of course, Pizzonia had a problem as well. He pitted twice for tyres. Duncan Tappi had a good run for Japan, considering the form they had in qualifying, problems with the car. He starts from 7th, and John Martin starts from 8th. A couple of places ahead of where he started in race 1. Robert Doornbos, who we saw had that contact, if they get the car out, he will be on the 5th row of the grid, but I suspect we're not going to see him. Philip Salaquada, Czech Republic, Sparta Prague, he lines up on row 5. And Neil Jarni, who had a great run to 4th place in that last race, lines up 11th. Belgium RSC Anderlecht with Frederic Vervisch for Luxembourg in 12th place on the grid. Finally at the back, our first 2 from race 1. Craig Dolby for England, who had such a fantastic race, and Jelmer Burman, who took victory for Netherlands PSV Eindhoven at his home Grand Prix, the first round of Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011. So here we are live on the grid. Safety car is there. We can see the various different members of team staff are disappearing. Burman's car just going up, and they're lifting off the tyre warmers. Hands up from the various different crew to say that the car is ready to go. Dolby at the back there with his warmers on very late, perhaps playing a tactical game, doesn't want to let everybody know whether he's putting new covers on.
Absolutely, they're waiting to the very last second to take those covers off, not to show the competition what they're running. Frederic Vervisch, the Belgian driver for Luxembourg, is ready, of course, as well. And there we're looking at Neil Jarni. Jarni really getting to grips with this series. It's the first time, and he really likes it. He has been really enjoying his stint right now. Philip Salaguarda was up there with the others.
Saw a great battle, didn't we, for the lead of the last one. I mean, it really came back. It was interesting to see the way the car's handling changed. I mean, some people have obviously got the car set up very nice for when the tyres are new. There's the missing grid spot. I suspect that's Robert Doornbos's
missing from our grid from the Netherlands. That's a great shame, isn't it? I mean, we saw such a fantastic battle between him and the other home driver, Jelmer Boerman. As we're looking at Australia, John Martin, he'll be hoping for an improvement. The car just looked completely out of balance in the middle of the race.
Yeah, when the tyre started to deteriorate, he really was struggling. So let's hope he can get that under control. Not enough preparation for the Japan car. Duncan Tappy as well struggling.
Yeah, he was. As we say, Duncan, we know, has proved his pace in single-seater racing elsewhere, but did a great race there. He kept himself out of trouble, didn't he? Other people ran into trouble, and as a result of that, he got a decent result. Pitsonia, who pitted twice. We didn't find out from Pitsonia why he was so unhappy with that first set of tyres. He obviously just didn't feel were doing any favours. Earl Bamber, who tried to repass Robert Dornbos and unfortunately went onto the grass down at turn 1 and ended up in the barrier. But it looks as though the car wasn't too damaged, and so Bamber is fairly well up the grid again. I think we could expect to see Earl make a few moves.
Well, he's got a new nose and he's on used tyres, and I can't see any stickers on the first cars.
Maria De Biotta, no, Turkey Galatasaray, sorry, Andy Soucek.
Also
cars,
used tyres. You can see it clearly.
So if you're wondering about tyres, these guys have 4 sets of tyres for the weekend. It's very tactical as to when you use your new tyres. For around 4 laps, they're absolutely fantastic, and then they tend to drop off in terms of their performance. So you can use them when you want. Free practice 1 and 2, qualifying, the first race, the second race, and even in the super final. So the teams can hold back the tyres tactically to when they think it is the right time to do so.
I asked before some of the teams, would you ever sacrifice race number 2 for number 3, for race number 1 for number 2? And that the answer was no. We will race for every point we can get.
So it looks like Ho Pin Tung might be missing from the grid as well for China. So he went around. I'm sure we saw him on his outlap, so maybe he's had to form up at the back of the grid. Possibly they didn't get the car ready on time. We'll try and have a look on the formation lap. Again, we can hear the incredible noise of these 4.2 litre V12 cars as we catch our breath, ready for another instalment of Super League Formula. The first race was absolutely fantastic. We saw great racing throughout, no problems at all until the pit stops, and then once the pit stops came, we had a bundle of cars fighting for victory. We're looking there for Ho Pin Tung, but we can't see him, so maybe he didn't make it round on his formation lap. Ho Pin Tung looks to be missing. The China driver for the Chinese team looks to be missing from the grid lineup. We'll try and keep you posted as soon as we've got some news on that. Safety car following the drivers around, and there was our race 1 winner, Jelmer Boerman. For Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven, just in front of him on the grid is Craig Dolby, who says himself, qualifying's not my strong point. I love to race. Well, he's going to race now. He's at the back of the grid, reverse grid, fully reverse grid, not just the top 10, the whole field. And on pole, Frenchman Tristan Comedy. I mean, Rick, he's my favourite for this race, really.
Absolutely. I can't see him giving that away, being it for a mechanical problem or something else that goes on.
He'd be very unlucky, wouldn't he, if he had 2 mechanical problems in 2 races.
Yeah, Bobby D is out, definitely. His car is still in the garage. So, Jelmer Boerman and Greg Dolby at the back of the grid. That's going to be real exciting to watch.
So we've lost Dornbos and we've lost Ho Pin Tung.
For the moment, yes, he might be starting from the pit lane, but we haven't seen that. There he is.
He is in the pit lane, so we saw him go out. Maybe he went on his installation lap and decided that the car wasn't to his liking. I don't think they're going to let him go now. He'd have a very long way to catch up, and of course it's a rolling start, reverse grid, so Ho Pin Tung will be released from the pit lane when the last car has come around, so that's not good news for him. He's going to be at the back of the grid.
If he has been able to give the team some pointers of how to change the setup for this race, he might come up a bit, but he is, of course, back at the grid, starting from the pit lane, so hardly any chance to get back with the pack. Greg Dolby. Expect a lot from him in this race, this second race. This team goes for the points. Points are the most important because Greg Dolby aims for the championship.
So, to the start now then, Gourmandi again looks as if he's going to try the same tactic he tried on Bamber. He squeezes Turkey across to the right-hand side. Maria De Biotta is in 3rd place. 3 white cars at the front. Gourmandi is away clean for France. We come down, he blocks Turkey. Andy Soucek comes around the outside. Turkey Galatasaray. Maria De Biotta holds on to 3rd. Bamber on to 4th. Pitsonia is in 5th. And that looks like Duncan Tappy might be in 6th place. Contact there. Looked like between 2 cars, maybe a movement. And a locked wheel there as well for De Biotta. De Biotta under pressure now from Bamber. straight.
Yeah, was Pisonia or the Australian car that went wide as well? We're on board with Jelmer Booman trying to find a way through this pack in front of him.
Around the outside, Dolby there, twitching around the left-hand side. You can see the car just stepped out sideways as he got on the gas. Has Booman got enough room? He looks up the inside, Luxembourg. He knows Dolby's on his outside. He's got enough room. And Dolby is in. Oh, and off the side of the track to the left-hand side. That looks like Luxembourg. France down to third place. It looks like France have dropped to third off our camera shots. No, that's the splits on our screens. Not entirely sure there. Earl Bamber, New Zealand up at the front. Duncan Tappy as well there we can see in the Japanese car. Not as much movement from the lead front runners at the back as we might have expected. We can see there Luxembourg dropped back. Frederic Verviche has dropped back to the back of the grid as we watch the front two cars. Gourmandi for France, followed by Andy Soucek in Turkey Galatasaray, come around to complete the first lap. So we know Soucek is quick. He could well pressurise Gourmandi. Gourmandi, we're hoping that his car is reliable. The V12 scream back past our commentary position down the front straight here at Assen and into the first series of right-handed corners again. Looking now as Berman and Dolby have got two cars behind them, so they're starting to make their way out through the field. Everybody will probably have used a push to pass again. On board with Dolby now through the long right-hander. We followed Dolby for a lap of the circuit just a moment ago. And looking at the leaders, we've got France, followed by Turkey Galatasaray, Spain, Atletico Madrid, as Maria de Biota is still there in fourth place. Earl Bamber for New Zealand, fifth place. Duncan Tappy for Japan, and John Martin in sixth for Australia.
Both Jelmer Booman and Greg Dolby haven't used their push to pass yet. They're both still on 8. And Maria de Biota, she hasn't used it. The rest have used it already, so they're on 7.
So de Biota did fairly well there to hold on to her place at the start. She didn't use to push to pass when everybody else around her on the grid. We can see that Gourmandi's used it again to open up a gap. Gourmandi drops down to 6 push to pass.
Yeah, and she's still in third place under heavy pressure of Earl Bamber, the New Zealand car.
So Bamber, who we saw was in second place in the first race, he was passed by Dormus. He went to repass him, he ran wide. So we know that Bamber as well was second on the grid in qualifying, so we know he's got the pace, but we don't know if his car's carrying any damage, whether it feels perfect underneath him. He's chasing Maria de Biota, who retired from the first race. We see Neil Jarni, followed there by Jelmer Booman and Craig Dolby. Further down the field, and then Luxembourg. Frederic Verviche went off the track in China, hoping time we had to start from the pit lane right at the back of the field.
Yeah, John Turner's there as well, of course, but looking at the two that started from the back of the grid, and that's still, of course, Greg Dolby.
John Martin's girlfriend there in the pits watching the race intently, hoping that he's going to have a better run than he did in the first race as he chases Duncan Tappy through that tight left-hander again, and with the traction away onto the straight.
Looking at the push to pass, it's still a blank. Still their maiden push to passes here with Greg Dolby and, of course, Jelmer Booman.
Bamber ran wide there onto the grass. He's coming under a little bit of pressure from behind thanks to running just slightly wide. Duncan Tappy, yeah, managing to apply some pressure, pops out from behind. Can he make a pass up the inside? Locked wheels. We're not going to see contact. I hope Maria de Biota just sees Tappy in time. And Bamber has managed to get past de Biota, and now Tappy is putting de Biota under pressure as well, followed closely by John Martin from Australia. So Tappy attacking and defending at the same time.
Great action here. It's fantastic to see. And Maria de Biota holding her own, closing the gap. But
Tappy looking up, she's back again. Slams the door in his face through the flat left-hander. Will Tappy look up the inside to the chicane? John Martin in there in case there's any contact, any pieces to pick up. Tappy again is all over the back of de Biota's car as they exit up the front straight now. Nobody using push to pass down here at this particular moment. Tappy does a dummy round the outside. De Biota tries to close the door. He uses some curves. Contact. Tappy makes it past de Biota. She's out wide on the grass. He's up the inside. John Martin passes Tappy at the second part of the complex. So Martin now leapfrogs both Duncan Tappy and de Biota. De Biota's dropped behind another car as well. So that contact there. Tappy was up the inside. Contact, and she loses out to Pitsonia too.
Yeah, seems to be some damage with Tappy as well, because he's dramatically slowing down.
Looking now alongside each other, Czech Republic alongside de Biota. De Biota is under serious pressure now. She's falling into the clutches of Berman and Neil Jarni as well. Neil Jarni all over the back of of Maria De Biota. She's had a disaster there. Contact with Tapie has meant that she's run off the circuit. Gianni right up underneath her now. Can he make a pass? She's coming around to the back section of the circuit. We've got this long run up towards the fast section again. He's having a look. It's that long, fast left-hander. My bet would be down the right-hand side into the chicane if he's feeling brave, or maybe at the end of the straight, which is where De Biota ran out of luck last time. Now, here we are. This is the fast section. Push to pass is a great place to use it. We can see, in fact, at the front, Goumondi has used it 3 times. Hard to hear just exactly what Dolby said there.
Was something about all cars ahead, but Jelmer Boeman has used push to pass.
Gianni going up the inside of De Biota, makes it stick. De Biota has no answer there. Gianni with a great pass, clearly in front as he came down to the chicane.
She might have a little bit of damage there from that accident, and the car isn't running like it was. But what a brave ride from the Spanish driver, Maria De Biota. We're on board with Greg Dolby.
Dolby tucked right up underneath, just listening in to hear if he was talking about a problem or not on his team radio. He seems to be able to keep pace with Boeman, so now 0.2 between Boeman and Dolby. Sound seems to have full revs.
Well, he still hasn't used his push to pass. Jelmer has, so he's on 7 now. He used that to pass Greg Dolby because he was behind him before, and now he is in front of him.
And looking at the England team now, monitoring Dolby, so we can maybe find out whether or not there's any issues there. They'll be looking at his data and checking whether or not everything's okay with the car. Boeman, we can see, have race 1 winner with Dolby, the 2nd place, tucked up right underneath him. They're still lying in 10th and 11th. They haven't made a huge amount of process. We're 10 minutes into the race, progress in around 5 minutes' time. The pits will open for those compulsory stops. Maybe we'll see some tactics then. Maybe these guys just save some new tyres for the second half of the race. They know they've got 4 laps where possibly they could make a 2.5 seconds on someone who's using older rubber. Duncan Tapie under pressure from John Martin from Australia.
Yeah, both Greg Dolby and Jelmer Boeman on the go. It's 265 kilometres an hour for Jelmer Boeman, 264.1 for Greg Dolby.
Big lock wheel there
on the track.
Big lock wheel from Tapie on the way into the first corner, but John Martin not in a position to be able to capitalise on that. Pitsonia as well, chasing those guys down. Tapie currently sitting in 4th place. 5th place for Martin and 6th for Antonio Pitsonia, XF1 driver in the Brazil car. Goumondi, 1.1 seconds over Andy Soucek in the Turkey Galatasaray. 5 push to passes left. Goumondi's been using his push to pass, of course, not to pass, but to try and make a gap. He's desperate to break the chasing car of Soucek in the Turkey Galatasaray machine. 5 push to passes each. They've both used push to pass 3 times. Earl Bamber as well, still in the hunt. He's only used his push to pass twice, so looking good towards the end of the race. Pizzonia's only used it once and is currently lying in 6th.
Yeah, very interesting. Greg Dolby hasn't used his push to pass yet.
Very much playing a waiting game then for the looks of things, Dolby. Car 7 is under investigation by the stewards.
That would be Duncan Tapie.
Duncan Tapie, so possibly then Tapie's contact maybe with Maria De Biota is under investigation. This is Jelmer Boeman up the inside. Oh, very nearly, and runs all the way across exactly the same place where he went last time. He went around the outside there in the first race of Robert Dormus, left him no space. This time he goes up the inside, runs off the circuit. And both cars taking a huge shortcut right the way across. Well, again, we'll have to see whether or not race control has anything to say about tactics such as using enormous amounts of runoff as part of the track.
Well, I would imagine that they are looking at these pictures very closely right now.
Very definitely. Dolby there with a big handful of opposite lock in the first corner. Watch now as we come around. Listen to the car's revs if we stay on board as we come out of turn 2, the second gear turn, sorry, onto the straight here. V12, 11,000 revs. They've got to find traction. On the gas. A bit of wheel spin.
Is on new tyres. He has no push to pass this lap. No push to pass this lap from the car behind.
OK, there we are. So, Dolby's crew informing him that the car behind has no push to pass on this lap. That's because when they use push to pass, they have a 90-second gap before they can use it again. So they can't use it on consecutive laps. They're telling Dolby, don't worry about the car behind you. He has no push to pass and he's on used tyres. China there as well. Ho Pin Tung fighting to get a result from this weekend. Popular driver, driving for his nation's pride as well. He didn't have a great race 1, and in race 2, trying ever so hard to make up for that. He's used 3 of his push-to-passes, trying to keep up with Dolby from England, see whether he could maybe put a pass on him. On board now with Hoping Tongue. They come back down through the back of the track. 1.4 seconds faster. Much faster, in fact. China's been going much faster than Dolby over the last 3 laps. He's really been chasing down 4, 5 and 6. 1.5 seconds a lap, so China on a real charge to try and catch up with Dolby. We're looking at Earl Bamber for New Zealand, who is right up behind now. It looks like Souček for Turkey Galatasaray, so all of a sudden either Souček has fallen back or Bamber is coming forwards. It looks like Bamber coming forwards. He's down to 5 push-to-passes. He chases now Souček down the back straight. Earl Bamber on a push, coming up towards the pit stops. The pits will open in 1.5 minutes' time, and that's when we're going to see the tactics for this race unfold, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg Dolby has used his push-to-pass once now. So we're looking at Turkey and New Zealand. Very great, good fight there.
Of course, this is all playing into the hands of Tristan Gomondi for France at the front. He's now got the 2 guys in 2nd and 3rd place, having a bit of a ding-dong behind him. Good battle.
They will have to defend their lines to each other, and he will be able to get away. And that's very nice to come back to that, because you saw his team leader in the pits, and that was, of course, Wim Kuckelbergs, and you saw him make that movement of 2 fingers up his nose. And you, as a British commentator, wouldn't know what that means. But that means you did this very easy, like taking candy from a baby. So that's what he was saying. And again, Gomondi is now really pushing, and these 2 have to defend their lines, so they will be losing to this French driver.
Earl Bamber on his previous lap, not the lap he's just done, the one prior to that. As Gianni makes a move up the inside, can't quite make it stick, but Bamber had set the fastest lap of the race in chasing down Andy Souček for Turkey. Gianni now is all over the back of the Czech Republic car. Philippe Salaquada under pressure from Neil Gianni. We're looking now at China, who are applying great pressure again. It looks as though Dolby's got 1 car in between them. Perhaps that's De Biotta.
It looks like Hoping Tongue has got it. It looks like they've really been able to change the setup of the car, and he's much happier with it now.
So Hoping Tongue now applying pressure to Maria De Biotta. Trying hard to get up underneath her and put himself in a position where he can pass. The pits, it looks to me as though they are open. They are indeed. There's the graphic, 9 minutes 30 left for the pits. So are we going to see a big rush like we saw last time of the leading cars come in, or are we going to see people wait a little bit longer and let the tactics unfold? The crews are out already. They're ready to go.
That means that one of the teams is coming in, and the other as well, because the teams have to stay in the garage until Gomondi comes in.
Pits from the lead. His lead at the minute is 1.5 seconds. He's decided he wants in now. It looks as though Souček has followed him in. Andy Souček. Earl Bamber then takes the lead for New Zealand. Bamber comes past our position and into the first corner. So Bamber will be hoping on the overlap now to push with no cars in front. Duncan Tappy again is moving up in the Japan car. He'll be lying in 2nd place. Loads and loads of people coming into the pits now. So Tristan Gomondi hoping for better luck than he had in the first race. Wheels back on. Can they release him? Looks like 80 sparks. Praha, that is Philippe Salaquada. Wheel spin away from the pits. 31 seconds was the pit stop time for Gomondi from France. We can see John Martin exiting the pits, and then behind him that looks like Pitsonia as well. So Pitsonia right up underneath John Martin from Australia, and Czech Republic Sparta Praha. That is again Philippe Salaquada leaves the pits 33.6, lost a couple of seconds there compared to the quick time from the French team. Now we're looking to see Jelmer Burman. Jelmer Burman appears to have stayed out.
Yeah, he's doing the same thing again, and interesting to see that China's doing the same thing as well. They're keeping Hoping Tongue on the track. He's much happier with the car now, and they allow him to get some laps and some different distance in, because he's in 13th place, of course, and he might be able to get himself back in with the pack by staying out longer.
Bamber pits for New Zealand from the lead. Bamber is in, he crosses the 60-kilometre line. You can see the pit lane time starts now. 31 seconds was the time set by Tristan Gomondi. He'll be hoping for a very fast stop in the hopes he can either leapfrog him or be up with him. Duncan Tappy stays out, so I think Tappy will now be in the lead for Japan, which isn't something we thought we'd be saying yesterday. Great work by those guys to give Tappy a car. We can hear Earl Bamber underneath our commentary position. literally the room shakes when these V12s pull away. Bamber is heading out. Yoma Berman has gone past Bamber, but of course Berman possibly waiting still for a stop. This Ho Pin Tung from China as well. And Bamber comes out of the end of the pits, 33.3, so loses a couple of seconds in terms of Gourmandi. So a bit of a battle now between Gourmandi and is that Souček right up with him. It is Souček underneath him, Turkey Galatasaray. So Souček is right underneath. He's managed to close the gap. Tristan Gourmandi had 1.5 seconds when they came into the pits. But now under pressure from Andy Souček, down the back straight, looking at the push to pass on those guys. 4 left for Gourmandi and 3 left for Souček from Turkey. So Gourmandi with a slight advantage there. They're up behind China, who hasn't been into the pit yet. They will have to pit, of course. Compulsory pit stop.
Ho Pin Tung is on maximum attack to get closer and closer because he used 4 of his pusher passes already, and he wasn't really fighting because everybody was going into the pits. Looking at Duncan Tappy and Brazil still on 8. So that means that Antonio Britonia still has 8 push to passes.
Well, you don't you, if Pizzoni might have saved 1 set of new tyres right for the end there. We can see Souček is all over the back. And with a big lift through there, so possibly Ho Pin Tung of China, who goes off to the right, and that leaves Gourmandi free now to get a good run, but he didn't. He had a defensive line into the chicane. Can we see Souček make a move down at the end of the straight? Souček is in the slipstream for Gourmandi. Gourmandi defends to the right-hand side. Souček will try to outbrake him. We see people go around the outside, but he can't do it. Can he get up the inside on the exit? Gourmandi hits the grass. We've seen several drivers do that. Souček takes the lead, goes up the inside of Gourmandi, takes the lead in effect after the stops if we're looking at where they were before. Ho Pin Tung in the pits.
Yeah, and he's coming out now. Great action there, where probably Souček was using his push to pass, I would say, because there was a bit of a difference in speed there. Accelerating out of that slow corner.
It was a good pass. Czech Republic have just done the fastest lap of the race, 1:27.2. That's Filip Salakada of Czech Republic, Sparta Prague. We see Ho Pin Tung, who's just exited the pits. So Gourmandi now then, once the pits are finished, assuming that nobody managed to make them, we can see their old Bamber is behind. So Andy Souček looking very strong. Perhaps Souček saved a set of new tyres there, and he's looking incredibly quick, isn't he?
Interesting to see is that the team managers of cars 3 and 10 are requested to report at race control that Gourmandi and Souček. So
could that be for earlier on when they both crossed across the runoff area? Or was it them? I thought it was Burman and one of them. Well, we'll have to wait and see what that's about.
It's not this.
Tappy in the pits for Japan. Hard on the gas, incredible noise again as he pulls away. 60 kilometres, he's on the limiter.
He came in as the leader, but that won't stick, of course, because it will be Gourmandi leading.
Turkey leading. Souček with Gourmandi in second place. They've come back past. Of course, Tappy was in the lead because he'd held on the longest for the pit stop. And we've just seen John Martin for Australia go fastest with a 1:26.9. So Martin seems to have a car which is coming back to him. We're seeing lots of people with greens, and now Craig Dolby goes quick. It's 1:26.8. So all of a sudden these cars are coming to people. We've got green all the way down our timing screens in the commentary box, which means a lot of people are on their best ever laps. They've been saving their push to pass, and they're on new tyres now. So Dolby right up underneath through the complex. He's coming to that tight second gear left-hander. Just in front of him, it looks like it's Burman. Dolby tries to get the power down. Hard on the gas and away. You can hear paddle shift there, very quick on the gear shift. 6th gear down the straight and then braking very hard to pitch the car into this bank corner.
And it's a drive-through penalty for car number 10, and that is the Turkey car. Andy Souček has to come in for a drive-through penalty.
Drive-through penalty for Andy Souček. Dolby makes a move. He's looking to come around Burman. Race 1 winner. Dolby was second. His hands are up. 2 movements. You're not allowed to defend twice. You can only make 1 move. But Dolby not happy. On the gas, their team is saying, stay calm, Craig, stay calm. They're watching the same pictures that you're watching. They see Craig waving out car 10 drive-through penalty, confirmed by race control now on your screens. Dolby not happy, weaving, exactly what we said. He defended twice, not allowed. You can defend once. Burman has defended twice. So Dolby now will be hoping that the race stewards will be looking into that as well. Burman brakes for the chicane, comes around. In front of him, we've got Souček for Turkey, but we know he's due to come in for a drive-through penalty, and car 3, team manager to race control. So we're still waiting now to see whether or not there's going to be a penalty for Gormandi for France as well, which would play nicely into the hands of Earl Bamber, who currently sits in 3rd place. For New Zealand, but is under increasing pressure. His fellow Southern Hemisphere driver John Martin in the Australia car closing in hard behind him. John Martin and Earl Bamber have 3 push-to-passes left. Pitsonia with 5 push-to-passes left. Saved his push-to-passes in the second half of the race. Maybe again, new tyres as we suspect. Our timing screens are still showing lots and lots of fastest laps, personal fastest laps for these drivers. And I think we're going to see a very close race here. Again, race 2, round 1 of Superleague Formula 2011 is shaping up to be a fantastic finish, just like race 1 was.
Yeah, John Martin and Earl Bamber. Here you see the push to passes, and it's Australia. John Martin, who's already pushed his pass, to say that. And it's New Zealand still in front in 3rd place, but a great battle for 3rd place, that is.
Souček resolutely refusing to come in. He will not come in for his drive-through penalties. The board is being held up, drive-through, must come in, doesn't want to come in. He's unhappy, probably thinks it's unjust. We'll find out exactly what the reason for that was from race control at some point. Souček in the lead. He doesn't want to come in. He's got 1 push to pass left. He's got a comfortable lead of 4.7 over France, but that will disappear immediately. And it looks as though, oh, Bamber has been overtaken by several cars. Has Bamber got a problem? Behind him a moment ago was John Martin. We didn't see that. John Martin's gone past. Pitsonia has gone past him as well. And he's now under pressure, it looks like, from Duncan Tappy for Japan.
That means he is
Pitsonia uses his push to pass as well as he comes onto the straight and looks at things. And Tappy is all over the back of Earl Bamber. Bamber stays on the left-hand side. Tappy, who was fastest through the speed trap yesterday in qualifying, comes down. Can Bamber keep the door shut on the inside? No, Tappy makes a clean pass. He's through, and Bamber has lost a lot of places there in just half a lap. Coming around now then, Japan, 3 push to passes left for Tappy. Earl Bamber, maybe his car has gone away from it. Maybe that Bamber used new tyres earlier on in the race, and that these guys are all using their new tyres for the second half. Either way, that was not a great lap for the New Zealand driver. Tappy now up behind Pitsonia. Only 0.586 of a second behind. This is a much better run for Duncan in the Japan car. And we're looking at Turkey. Galatasaray still. Souček is refusing to come in for his drive-through penalty. Is he seeing the boards or not? There we are. Race steward, you can see written on the back of the shirt there, holding up a board. Drive-through penalty. They won't be very happy. If he doesn't come in, he'll be penalised at the end of the race anyway. Through the complex then for Souček.
He will definitely be penalised. I believe it will be a 25-second penalty after the race
if he doesn't come
in. So they won't be happy with that.
John Martin
to do what the clerk of the course says.
John Martin closing up now on the France car of Tristan Gormandi. Of course, this could well end up, well, this is almost certainly going to be the battle for the lead. Turkey has a lead of 5.5, nowhere near enough for a drive-through penalty or a 25-second penalty. So Galatasaray Turkey's Andy Souček is not going to be a very happy driver when he eventually comes in. Let's see, maybe he'll come in now. He's got a good gap. He's nowhere near enough. And we can see now John Martin for Australia. This is his best showing of the weekend. Disastrous qualifying. Chasing down now Gormandi, the French driver who was leading the first race, of course, until he lost his throttle. He'll be chasing him hard. Pitsonia as well for Brazil lies in 4th place currently. Duncan Tappy for Japan in 5th. Earl Bamber for New Zealand in 6th. On your screens now, Czech Republic, Filip Salaquada. And in, finally, Souček comes in the Turkey car. He's coming in to take his penalty, drive-through penalty. So he's got to come down the pit lane, drive-through on the pit lane speed limit of 60 kilometres an hour, while the other competitors are streaming past the pits. They're going to be coming past. Out the window, I can see France and Australia and Brazil have passed him already. We can see from that shot here at the end of the pit lane, he's lost an enormous amount of places. He drops from 1st down to at least 7th or 8th place. I think he's going to come out in 8th place. Disaster for Souček there. He's had his drive-through penalty, that's it. And it'll be very hard now for him to be motivated running. He's going to want to chase a few people down, but that's a disappointing few laps for him.
Well, because of the race format, it will still be worth his while to get as much out of it as possible, because he has points for every place. So if he manages to overtake 1 or 2 cars in the time that we have left, which is about 12 minutes, so still a possibility to get a bit further to the front. So take all the points you can get. So that's your motivation.
So it's looking to me now very much like Tristan Gormandi is holding up the cars behind him. Pitsonia, his last lap was a personal best, 1:27.1. He's chasing down hard now John Martin. The gap is only half a second between John Martin and France. Martin, of course, under pressure from Pitsonia. And in fact, Tappi with them as well. Duncan Tappi for Japan. So Gormandi clinging on desperately. He's got 12 minutes to go. He'll be lucky to hold on to this, looking at the pressure he's under from these 4 cars. Round the long flat left-hander, down towards the braking zone for the chicane. And how close can John Martin get on the brakes? He closes up on the exit. We'll see whether or not he's managed to gain any ground. Away now and down the front straight. Earl Bamber just doesn't look like he can keep up with these guys. Duncan Tappi uses his push to pass, comes up the inside of Pitsonia, makes it stick. Tappi passes Pitsonia and moves up from 4th to 3rd place. Great move by him using push to pass. An extra 1,000 revs. Does he run wide? No, he doesn't. Pitsonia has a sneaky look up the inside, but he can't make that stick either. Tappi is in a very strong 3rd place. Great drive by the Englishman, driving for Japan.
Yeah, and he... Pitsonia still has 3 pushes to pass left, so it's going to be interesting how he's going to defend that.
Australia then chasing down, and apparently the penalty for Soucek we're hearing was for crossing the white line on the exit of the pit lane. So when you exit the pits, you have to stay tight on the right. If you don't, you get a penalty, and that's what Soucek got. Tappi looking up the inside of John Martin. Can't quite make it to there. Australia now, Tappi right up underneath John Martin. Long run back down the rear end of the circuit again. So Tappi looking very, very strong. Can Pitsonia respond to that or not? Tappi right up underneath John Martin for Australia. John Martin defends, kind of, but it comes across to the correct line for the entry to the chicane. Will Tappi again? No, Brazil now using push to pass. We can see that's lit up on our timing screens. Brazil trying to get back up, but Tappi's got a bit of a draft on John Martin. Not enough to be able to make the move, and Pitsonia there definitely not enough to be able to move back. So Pitsonia there's used a push to pass, and it hasn't quite worked out for him. Looking at the classification then at the minute, France, Tristan Gormandi is leading by 0.8 of a second from Australia's John Martin. Duncan Tappi for Japan in 3rd. Pitsonia for Brazil in 4th, 1.5 down. Earl Bamber, 3.5. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to close that gap back up. And Czech Republic, Sparta, Praha, Philippe Salaquada, 4.7 seconds down. Can he catch up Bamber and take 5th place? Remember, the top 8 on points from the first 2 races will go through to our super final and have a bit of a race, 5-lap dash for €100,000, which we've got coming up in just a short while. 9 minutes left of race 1, and Gormandi is still defending.
Yeah, interesting to see that Jelmer Burman isn't able to get closer to Greg Dolby anymore. So Dolby is on the bubble, as they say. He is in 8th place, so he should be in if he stays there. But it looks like Jelmer Burman is not in right now.
Well, don't forget, of course, it's going to be the aggregate of the points from both races. So Burman's first race win, we'll see the points after this. That will give us the tally of who's going to make it through to the super final. And watching Australia there. Okay, super final points prediction. Bang on cue.
Yeah, but he really has to work for it because he can't drop back too much. That's what I wanted to say.
Burman here is Netherlands, 68. Craig Dolby, Australia looking strong to go through. Japan as well. Duncan Tappi will make the super final if the results finish as they are now. Czech Republic, Sparta, Praha 2. So points right down to 8th.
So he should be safe.
Indeed. Luxembourg and Belgium looking like 7th and 8th. So another great racing prospect, a 5-lap sprint from a standing start, so don't miss that. That will be with us after race 2, very shortly after. Pitsonia right up underneath Tappi now. Can he get the power down on the back straight? Duncan Tappi uses push to pass. The screens light up in our commentary box, and he goes straight around the outside. Good move by Tappi there. He's closing down now, then it looks like on John Martin.
And Jelmer Burman is on the push to pass right now. So let's see if he can do something about that car in front of him. That's the Belgian team, of course, Neil Jarny.
What has happened to the French driver? Gormandi, it looks like he's dropped right back off our camera position. Gormandi has dropped back. John Martin had got past him before Duncan Tappi had.
Absolutely. Gormandi in trouble again.
So maybe his car's gone away from it. Looks like it closing in on him incredibly quick. Pitsonia is having no problem. Oh, Pitsonia touches. Just a slight touch. And contact again. Gormandi doesn't give him enough room. was the slightest touch as they came around there, and then contact again on a very high-speed part of the circuit. Now, Pitsonia, very hard up behind. 2 push-to-passes left for the French driver. Doesn't seem to have used those there. He's defending now, and Earl Bamber is up into this battle as well, so Bamber is able to close the gap down. Is it that the French driver is pushing them backwards, Gourmandi? Look at his last lap time, 1:31.
Oh, there he is. He's slowing down already. It's 34.9 his last lap, and the others are in 33s. So he's already losing speed.
Definitely, Gourmandi not going as well as he was. Maybe he had a slight problem when we were running through the points for the super final. Push to pass left, France 2, Brazil 1. So coming up behind Pitsonia, he's just got the one left. He's going to need to make sure he makes it stick if he decides to use the button. He's only got 1 push to pass left. Of course, he's under pressure as well from Bamber. Looking at Earl Bamber, he has 1 push to pass as well, and the Frenchman uses 1 down this straight section here to defend himself from the attack coming from Pitsonia and Bamber. 6 minutes 18 left to run in this race, so another few laps yet. Roughly around 1:29, 1:30 a lap. Now the tyres have gone off around 1:25. We were seeing in practice and qualifying on light fuel loads. Of course, heavy fuel load today for the whole race.
Personal fastest time by the Czech Republic, Filip Salaguarda.
So Tappy's got a comfortable gap now on the French car. And joining the fight at the back there as well, I think was Salaguarda, was that coming onto the back there?
And another decision, or it looked to be, no. Anyway, great. Everybody down to 8th place with 1 push to pass left. Then Belgian Niljani and Jelmer Boomen with 2.
So still some battles to be fought. It's looking like John Martin is going to be comfortable in the lead. He's got a gap of 0.6 of a second from Duncan Tappy for Japan. Now Duncan, his car was not built on Friday. They had a problem with the gearbox there. He spent all day rebuilding the car for free practice. He had to have a special practice session, Duncan Tappy, on Saturday morning just to give the car a shakedown before qualifying. Qualifying didn't go well. The right parts weren't on the car. They just hadn't had time to get the car fully re-prepared while they'd managed to get their gearbox fixed. And now Duncan Tappy is lying in 2nd place in the Japanese car. An absolutely fantastic drive and a great result as well. John Martin at the minute leading for Australia.
Yeah, the Czech Republic car, Sparta Prague with Salaguarda really putting it on to Greg.
Duncan Tappy using push to pass to try and close the gap down to John Martin. He's right up underneath him. So now he's 4 minutes 30 left to try and pressure Martin into a stake. Martin has 1 push to pass. So it says 0 now. 0 for both. They both use push to pass. So Martin using to defend. Duncan Tappy looks up the inside of the first corner. He makes it stick. Duncan Tappy takes the lead for Japan. We would not have been saying that on Friday when his car was in the pits, crippled by a gearbox problem. Duncan Tappy only got his first laps in the machine yesterday. The Englishman driving for Japan takes the lead. He demotes John Martin for Australia to 2nd place. An absolutely outstanding drive.
Fantastic. You wouldn't have said that yesterday. Looking at the speed trap, Australia, John Turner with no, it's Brazil with the fastest, 216 kilometers an hour. But what a fight for first place.
Tappy just driving away now from John Martin. It seems that Tappy's car has really come to him, and John Martin just seems to have dropped a little way back. The difference was 0.2 at the last. That was the difference between Tappy when he was behind. It was 0.2 at the end of the last lap.
First sector at 272.
Replay of Tappy's move, tucked up right underneath the rear wing. Manages then to come up the inside. I wonder if Tappy used his push to pass just slightly later in the lap, which allowed him to have the rev still after that chicane. You can see John Martin ran wide, lost a bit of time as well. Great move by him.
Actually, he ran out of push to pass before John Turner did.
Fantastic stuff.
Turner obviously didn't have an answer. I just saw a 272.7 kilometers an hour on the first time sector, which is really fast, and that's the Czech car. Salaguarda is really getting closer to the guy in front of him.
1.3 seconds now, the gap between Tappy and pass there. We've got Turkey Galatasaray moving up the inside of Dolby. Not been a great race to Dolby. Dolby's in 8th, of course. He was very cross earlier on. Felt there was some weaving going on. He has no push to pass left, Craig Dolby. Still looks to have a reasonable car underneath him. between Galatasaray and just 0.2 of a second. So we've got a lot of cars all on the same lap here. Still some people who could fall into the clutches of others. Czech Republic chasing down. Philippe Salaquada is chasing hard. El Bamba from New Zealand.
I would say that Greg Dolby is really fighting understeer because the car was really getting away from him on the slow corners.
So maybe not able to put in the lap times he wants to. Pitsonia in clear space. Bamba uses his last push to pass. We've got a red logo on the screen there telling you that he's currently using it. That push to pass system giving the 4.2 V12 just an extra 1,000 revs down the straight. And coming towards the end of the race, so 1 minute 42 to go. We're going to see another 2 laps at least. Can Duncan Tappy hang on for Japan, or can John Martin for Australia respond? Here we are. New Zealand uses the last push to pass. Duncan Tappy comes over the start-finish line. Behind him is Australia's John, 2.2 seconds. So Tappy opens the gap back to John Martin from Australia. We've got a gaggle of cars. El Bamba is under serious pressure now. Philippe Salaquada tries to look up the inside, just shows himself. He's putting a bit of pressure onto El Bamba.
Oh, he's putting a lot of pressure on El Bamba. I saw him coming already. He had the highest top speed through the speed traps, and a 272.7. That's the fastest I've seen all race. And he's really getting closer now to Bamba. And Bamba has to really work hard to close the door.
Struggling for traction.
Yeah. Coming out of that slow corner, that's wheel spin.
Not sure what he was saying just there. Talking to the crew on the pit wall.
Well, you can see the times there, and he's faster consistently. He was in lap 22, he was in lap 23, and he was in lap 24.
Apparently the pit crew informed me it's going to be tight as to whether or not they make it to another lap. Of course, needing to know whether to make that all-important last gasp look up the inside on this lap or the next one, whether or not he's got another one to go. Duncan Tappy coming up with 15 seconds to go. Round through this long flat left-hander. If he makes it across the start-finish line before 0, then he'll have to do a whole nother lap. There's just a few seconds to go. Are we going to see the checker flag, or is Tappy going to make it round for another lap? He makes it over the start-finish line, so the flag is being shown for last lap. Tappy makes it. If he'd backed off by a second, he might have guaranteed the win on that lap, but he doesn't want to fall into the hands of John Martin from Australia.
It was absolutely the last possible second. If it was 1 second earlier, it would have been the finish of the race, but now we still have to go one lap to give it all.
So could we see a shock win then from Duncan Tappy for Japan? Duncan Tappy for Japan. Friday, no laps whatsoever. Saturday morning, installation laps before qualifying. A disastrous qualifying. The setting's not on the car. He was fastest at this split. He was fastest at the speed trap. He then couldn't do anything in Sector 2 or Sector 3. 2.5 seconds back. Luxembourg. Oh, Frederic Vervisch is in the gravel. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to recover that car. We've got a replay of Vervisch. He has a look around the outside. There's contact. There's contact. He ends up, both the cars look like they're off. Both the cars look like they're off. It looks like Turkey Andy Soucek is off as well. So last lap now, we're looking for Duncan Tappy coming down. The yellow flags will be out at the end, so it's going to mean that John Martin won't be able to make a last gasp look down the inside. The yellow flags will be out the chicane, and I think we're going to see, as long as he can make it around to the finish, John Martin, big clear gap.
What a testimonial for this series.
Absolutely brilliant. And what a testimonial to the team of guys who prepared Duncan Tappy's car for Japan. He comes around over the start-finish line. He's going to come in towards the pit walls, and he takes the win. Duncan Tappy wins. His fist is in the air, and rightly so. He had an absolutely shocking start to the weekend, but Tappy takes the win for Japan. An absolutely outrageous drive by him. John Martin in second for Australia. Pitsonia in third for Brazil. For France, Gormandi, who of course was leading the race. New Zealand's El Bamba comes in fifth. And in sixth place, Czech Republic, Philippe Salaquada. Well, what a drive, what a weekend. What a great team Duncan Tappy's had underneath him there to have worked so hard. They've worked and worked and worked, and finally they've given him a car that can do the job.
Nothing to add to that. Absolutely fantastic work by the team to get this car as good as it was. And of course, kudos to Duncan Tappy as well. Now there is a bit of a question going on. Car number 5, that would be Luxembourg. That's under under investigation.
So results from race 2 then. Duncan Tappy for Japan takes an absolutely stunning win from John Martin for Australia. Antonio Pizzonia for Brazil comes in 3rd place, and Tristan Gourmandi for France Giraudon de Bordeaux. Earl Bamber, New Zealand, 5th place, managed not to have the car disappear from underneath him too much. Philippe Salaquada, Czech Republic, Sparta Prague comes in 6th. Andy Soucek comes in 7th place, and Craig Dolby in 8th. Neil Jarni and Yelma Berman rounding out the top 10 there. Hoping Tung in 11th for China. Maria de Billotta for Spain. After that contact early on in the race, she dropped down. And then Luxembourg coming in at the back. Well, I think we've seen 2 absolutely outstanding races. The first 2 races here on the first Grand Prix weekend of Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011.
Yeah, stunning races. And looking at Turkey finishing in 7th place with the drive-through penalty. Cars coming in now. Now it's going to be really hectic because they have 5 minutes between race number 2 and race number 3. 20 kilos of fuel needs to be put in. So, tyres, what are your best tyres? Do you have a new set? You will put it. If you don't have a new set, you will try to find your best tyres, preferably new tyres for this Dash for Cash. No fluid top-ups, and of course you need to get some food or some carbohydrates into you in the form of a gel or whatever, because these drivers were given 2 times 40 race minutes. That is devastating to the body. As I said, 2 kilos of fluids that you lose during a race, they should be on 4 now, so they're really pushing the limit now, and they should be on reserve, so they have to take some carbohydrates in.
Well, there we are, the cars getting ready for race 3. We're going to see some highlights of race 2. So reverse grid meant that the quick guys were at the back, except for Tristan Gourmandi, who of course had retired from the lead of race 1. He headed off and had Andy Soucek tucked up right underneath him for the first part of the race from Turkey, Galatasaray. Here we see Duncan Tappy starting his charge up from the back of the grid. He makes a move on Maria de Billotta. There was slight contact there. Tappy managed to get away with it. De Billotta ran wide, and she lost 3 places to John Martin and Pizzonia as well. Earl Bamber, New Zealand driver, charging hard. And a pass down the front straight in towards the first corner, but no. Gourmandi manages to defend, then runs wide. Soucek, when he loses the traction, Gourmandi on the exit. Soucek takes the lead and comes through. Then came the news that Soucek was to have a drive-through penalty. He had a lead of around 5 seconds when he finally relented and came in and did what the race stewards had told him to do. So Pizzonia and Tappy then coming around down the back straight. He takes that stop-go, effectively the drive-through, and loses around 7 places. The lead changes, and that was it for Soucek. He was out of the running for the win. John Martin, then the car came to him. You can see in the background Duncan Tappy using his push to pass on Pizzonia. Made a great pass into the first corner, and the car just kept on coming to him. Gourmandi, bit of opposite lock through that first corner. This was the point then at which Gourmandi lost the lead. He had a big moment in the first complex of corners, lost a couple of places. John Martin was leading from Duncan Tappy. Contact between Pizzonia there when he tried to come around the outside, and again enormous speed contact down. This was Gourmandi defending hard, and John Martin could do nothing from the charging Duncan Tappy, who took the lead in the Japan car after hard work by him and the team all weekend long to try and get a car underneath him which would work, and he delivered the results which they wanted. This was the contact at the end of the race, which ended up in a bit of a message from the stewards to Luxembourg. Frederic Verviche unhappy with the move, and Tappy comes down past the yellow flags at the chicane and takes victory in race 2 of the first Grand Prix weekend of Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011. He was pumping his fists as he came down the straight. A very happy driver indeed. So yeah, those results are confirmed. Championship standings after race 2, Japan with 76 points at the top of the championship standings after race 2. Great by Duncan Tappy in Japan. In second place, John Martin, Australia, with 74 points. Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven, our first race winner, Jelmer Burman, lies in third place. And Craig Dolby, despite not a great race in that last one, 68 points because he finished second in race 1. Pizzonia in fifth for Brazil, 63 points. And Czech Republic, Sparta Prague, Philippe Salaquada. Down at the bottom of the grid, France, Giraudon de Bordeaux. Poor old Tristan Gourmandi not had a wonderful weekend. First race, throttle failed.
Yeah, the car of Vicious still under investigation. As I said, 5 minutes to change around. It's very hectic. I mean, it looks like Tappy is already there.
So Tappy sitting in the car, big smile on his face. You can see there just how hot the drivers are. It's very hot. You've got the heat of the engine right behind you. He's desperately trying to get some fluids on board. His tyres look to be in reasonable condition as well. This is only a 5-lap sprint. Don't forget, there's some graining, so I don't think they're new. We're still recovering cars from the chicane, so
that might give him a few minutes more.
Indeed. So race three coming up will be a 5-lap sprint. It is a dash for cash, literally. The winner will take €100,000. We're seeing a replay now. This was the incident at the chicane. Down the outside, turns in, and really there wasn't anywhere for Souček to go on the inside there. Frederick Vervisch from Luxembourg then tried to get on the gas and rescue the car, but he just buried it deeper in the gravel, and that was it, game over. Looking now from a different angle, it's difficult to see. I mean,
now I would say that they are right to put this on the investigation. Of course, I'm not the clerk of the course, but it looks like Souček was committed to the corner.
Huge amount of gravel around the circuit there as well, so gravel all across the chicane. Now this is the starting grid for the super final. Duncan Tappy will be on pole for the super final in the Japan machine. John Martin for Australia in second. Jelmer Burman, the local driver, Netherlands PSV, he won the first race. And Craig Dolby, a self-professed racer, will start from 4th place for England. On row 3, Antonio Pizzonia for Brazil and Philippe Salaquada for Czech Republic, Sparta Prague. And in 7th, Neil Jarni makes the super final for Belgium, RSC Anderlecht, and Frederick Vervisch for Luxembourg. Well, after that last race, then I would have to say that we probably would have to have Duncan Tappy down as the favourite if his car continues in that condition, unless, of course, somebody saves some new tyres. Do you think anybody might have saved new tyres, Rick?
Well, I think we might see a surprise. I've spoken to some of the teams and they were very secretive about it, but I think some have saved sticker tyres.
So we've got Lisa. Lisa is down in the pits with Andy Souček.
Thanks, Andrew. Andy, I know you had a drive-through penalty. Just tell us, what was that about?
Well, I still don't know. Apparently, I crossed the line on the exit of the pit lane. I would like to go to the stewards and check it on the video because I'm pretty sure I didn't. Obviously, if they saw something, perhaps it's the angle of the camera, or perhaps I actually did so. But it's a really, I mean, it's bad luck because on the first race I was second, already had Doornbos over. I overtook Doornbos and he was without the wing, and he crashed basically into me. Second race I was leading it, and I got a penalty. It's just bad luck all the weekend.
Overall, tell us your thoughts on the whole weekend. I guess you're not completely happy and satisfied with your driving.
You can imagine if I was second on the first race and first on the second race and I didn't finish each of them, the result of it is very bad. The reality is that we have the pace, we are there, we can battle for wins, and that's at least a good point. So I'm going out with a positive feeling, and the team has done a great job, so thanks for everybody.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you.
Well, Souček there at least has had an enjoyable weekend. I liked his take on the stewards. He said perhaps they saw something on the camera, or perhaps I did do something. So he knows that it was maybe a slightly contentious move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Championship standings then after 2 races. Duncan Tappy with 76 points. Australia, John Martin with 74. Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven, that's Jelmer Burman, who is on 68. Craig Dolby for England in 4th place, also on 68. And Brazil, Antonio Pizzonia is in 5th with 63 points. 6th place, Czech Republic, Sparta Prague. That's Philippe Salaquada. He is on 61 points. Belgium, RSC Anderlecht, Neil Jarni, 56. And Luxembourg, Frederick Vervisch. Bottom of the table there, we've already mentioned France, a bit of bad luck. Ho Ping-tung, and Spain as well, retiring from the first race. Doornbos, of course, did ever so well in the first race and then had contact, broke the car, and we didn't see him in the second race, which is why he is where he is now. Duncan Tappy then sits in his car, ready to go. John Martin alongside, they're heading out for one warm-up lap, then it's back for a standing start. The first standing start of the weekend. Of course, some of these drivers not been in the cars for quite a long time. Neil Jarni heads out, and the 8th car looks as though they're struggling to get the 8th car away from the pits, so maybe we're only going to see 7. We'll have to see whether there's 1 car left in the pits or not.
Yeah, that would be Luxembourg, but I'm not quite sure. Interesting to see. There seem to be sticker tyres on John Turner's car. I'm not quite sure. No, that's John Martin, sorry.
So Duncan Tappy coming down the back straight, just nice and slow, get some air through the car and get himself cooled down. Everything ready. Pitsonia weaving just a little to try and make sure the temperature is exactly where he wanted. Neil Jarni lining up, slight puff of smoke there from one of the cars as it locks the wheel. And Tappy with a little bit of acceleration and brake as well, just checking that all his brakes are up to temperature.
I have checked right now and I don't see anyone with new tyres. If you had a set left, this would have been the time to use it, because with a standing start and new tyres, you will really have an advantage. But obviously they don't have any new tyres left.
So we've got one car which definitely hasn't come out onto the grid. As we suspected, we think it might be Luxembourg, which would be Frederic Verviche.
There he is.
No, that's Luxembourg then, who qualified for the super final, but doesn't look like he could be there because I believe he was in the gravel at the end of the second race.
And it looks
so
like
seven then in the super final, because his car couldn't be recovered in time. So double penalty for him. Then he would have made the super final. Instead, ends up in the gravel at the end of the race. So 7 cars in. So it's going to be a fantastic battle. Standing start for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Jelmer Burman in this one, because he's going to go all out now. And, of course, Gordon Tappy has a great advantage starting from pole position. John Turner will have a lot to make up for as well. John Martin will have a lot to make up for as well. And we're going to see what this is going to be. One thing, it's going to be really, really exciting.
So, lining up on the grid, it should only be a very short hold for these guys. Duncan Tappy on pole position. John Martin for Australia in second place. The red lights are on, the lights go out, and we're away. A reasonable start. Tappy lays down a lot of rubber. Bad start there for Jelmer Burman. They're on the dash down to the first corner. Dolby is up the inside of Martin. They're both up the inside of Tappy. Tappy loses 2 positions. Can he hold on around the outside? Pitsonia's up the inside too. So Dolby is in second place. John Martin leads. Tappy now runs wide again. Neil Jarni nearly comes up the inside of him, but doesn't quite make it. 5 laps then. Tappy, the big loser, away from the start. He got a lot of wheel spin. You can see 2 big black lines away from his grid slot. He didn't manage to get the power down. Can he make amends for that now? Of course, they've all got push to pass back. Only 2 people use push to pass away from the line. Belgium and Czech Republic. Philippe Salakada.
There might have been some contact there at the back of the field, because I saw some bits and bobs falling off. It could have been something there.
Tappy's dropped back behind Neil Jarni. So Tappy then not having such a great run as he had in race 2. Jarni charging. This is only a 5-lap sprint, remember. So if you're going to get past anyone, you're really going to have to risk it. You'll only be able to use push to pass 2, maybe 3 times in this, because of the 90-second gap in between. Duncan Tappy, race 2 winner, you see on screen there for Japan. But John Martin for Australia is leading the super final currently.
Greg Dolby looking good as well.
He's indeed Jelmer Burman not having such a good run. Dolby, could he make up for some of those missed positions in the first 2 races with a cracking run in here? Now looking to see whether anyone's going to use push to pass. They come down. Dolby defends slightly on his line from Pitsonia. A little bit of oversteer as well. Jarni now right up underneath Pitsonia. Down the front straight. John Martin. Jarni shows himself in Pitsonia's mirrors, but still the order holds the same. John Martin, Australia, leading from Craig Dolby by 0.4 of a second. Not comfortable, you can see there, it's less than 0.4 now. And around Pitsonia is very, very close indeed.
Yeah, Pitsonia's really attacking Greg Dolby right now. He's underneath his wing. And there's no time for dawdling around on this one. There's 2 laps already gone of the 5.
So looking then, Australia looking very strong. Try push to pass, I think they said there. So seeing whether or not they can maybe open up a bit of a gap. John Martin for Australia. Away, and Pitsonia looks up the inside of Dolby. Not enough room. Dolby around the outside, maintains speed. We need to see the exit of that, and there it is. Pitsonia is all over Dolby. Jarni looks up the inside. Pitsonia defends. That's going to give Dolby just a little bit of breathing space. He comes off his ideal line into that corner. Incredibly close racing again here. These guys know they've only got 5 laps to make it. See Tappy now back up underneath Jarni as well. So Duncan Tappy, race 2 winner, and bringing along with him Jelmer Burman.
Yeah, these 2 are coming up fast. Tappy with strongest first sector time, 34.7 there, and he's really quick through the first sector.
John Martin with a slightly strange line through the corners there, but seems to have opened up a little bit more of a gap. We'll be able to tell you as he comes across. And push to pass for Craig Dolby. Craig Dolby using push to pass, goes around the outside of John Martin, then blocks to the inside. Dolby takes the lead of the super final. Now Pitsonia is up underneath. John Martin, can he capitalise on
Yeah, great to see how he uses that extra 15 brake horsepower with the push-to-pass and to, in effect, taking the lead. Greg Dolby, I would have expected him to do that, but not as early as in the third lap, because now he is the duck that is chased by the pack.
Pitsonia.
Well, the fox, actually.
Pitsonia, replay now. Dolby comes to the outside, bravely around the outside. You see the enormous amount of extra speed he had. He then just blocked slightly, took a not the ideal line into the first corner just to make sure that John Martin couldn't cut back underneath him. In the car for Australia, Neil Jarni and Pitsonia both dart out from the slipstream of Australia. Pitsonia makes it stick up the inside. He's got John Martin. Martin runs wide, and Neil Jarni as well makes it round. Was there contact there between the two? There was. Jarni's run up towards the side of the track, and Berman, Jarni's in the gravel.
Incredible action here. Johnny's still running, trying to get out of the gravel pit. But look at Greg Dolby getting away.
Jarni is out of the fight, definitely. Jarni now well out of the fight. He's in the gravel. There's no way he's going to come back from that. 2 laps to go. We're coming up for lap 4 now. Yelmer Berman suddenly looking strong. John Martin has gone backwards, and Berman is right on the back of him as they come down past our position. We're looking to see, is anybody using push to pass? It doesn't look like they are. Berman has a look up the inside. He's trying just to distract John Martin a little, but Martin still holds on, and they're starting just to open up a bit now. So Craig Dolby looking very good indeed. This is 4th lap out of 5 for this sprint super final. €100,000 prize for the winner. Push to pass left. We have 6 for Australia, 7 for Netherlands. Not really going to make a big difference. It depends on whether or not they can use it. If they've recently used it, it's a 90-second gap before they can use it again. Berman right up behind.
I would guess that this would be the time to use it to get past the Australia car.
Gaps opening up between. It's close between Netherlands, Czech Republic, Japan. Duncan Tappy's dropped back now. We know that behind him is Neil Jarni. Can hear underneath us the noise of an engine in the pit lane. Didn't see who that was, but Dolby and Pitsonia in a big battle. Pitsonia runs wide onto the grass. Dolby there just bullying him wide. Fastest lap by Dolby, 1:28.3. So it looks like everybody's on used tyres. Only 4 sets for the weekend. Nobody managed to save a new set for the super final, and it is indeed Neil Jarni. They've wheeling Jarni back in. Great shame. He was looking strong in the super final, but ended up in the gravel after some contact to the back of the circuit. Dolby runs out towards the paint on the curbs.
Yeah, Pitsonia's really going to do a do or die, because he's in the penultimate lap. He's in the last lap now, and he is going to try, or is he? He's very close to Dolby. The England car.
Dolby in the lead. Dolby where he likes to be, as we've said all weekend. I'm a racer. He didn't do very well in qualifying. Race 1 was good. He fought his way back to second. Race 2 wasn't so bad either, but this would be the icing on the cake for him if he can win the super final. The last
there he is.
On the
Yelmer Berman.
Yelmer Berman
uses push to pass.
Can see him in the background. Berman closing in on John Martin, just out the shot. Is Berman going to make a move on John Martin? He has. Berman passes John Martin, uses push to pass. Berman up into 3rd place. John Martin, despite setting the fastest lap on the previous lap, drops down, and locked wheel there in the background. Pitsonia holds on, using a huge amount of curb. Just coming in this final lap. Dolby now for England, looking as though he's not going to be matched. Is he going to make a mistake on this final part, or is he going to take the win in the super final? Pitsonia for Brazil in behind him. Both those guys using push to pass now. So Dolby using it to try and defend. Pitsonia using it to try and close in on him.
It's really going to be exciting now.
We can see
only a few corners left. There
Jarni out, coming down towards the finish. Oh, Pitsonia looks up the inside, shows himself, but decides better of it. Dolby exits the chicane. It's a clean exit for Craig Dolby for England. Race 3 crosses over the line. Pitsonia tried just to dart around the outside of him for Brazil, but Dolby takes the win in the super final. You can see how much it means to him. He shakes his head and shakes his fist. It's a win for Craig Dolby in England in the super final, with Antonio Pitsonia from Brazil in 2nd place, and Yelmer Berman using push to pass just on that last lap to good use, and demotes John Martin from Australia to 4th. In the 5th place, Philippe Salaquada for the Czech Republic. Duncan Tappy, race 2 winner for Japan, ends up in 6th. And Neil Jarni ends up back in his pits after a trip through a gravel trap on the far side of the circuit. Well, race 3.
If you want excitement in motorsport, if you want excitement in open wheel racing, there's only one way to go, and that's Super League Formula.
It's been a absolutely fantastic weekend, a great way to kick off the season. Super League Formula Nations Cup 2011, delivering what it's delivered in the past. Very, very close racing, overtaking on all different points on the circuit. 3 different race winners. There we are, thank you.
All your hard work over the winter, boys, that one's for you. All the way, that one's for you.
Fantastic. Craig Dolby, thank you so much. You don't know how much this means to me. This is for the hard work over the winter. We knew he was frustrated yesterday. The team yesterday made a mistake. They brought him in early in qualifying. They thought he was safe. Burman went out and went quicker. And there he thanks the team who managed to get him the win in race 3. Craig Dolby for England wins the super final and €100,000. In second place, Antonio Pizzonia for Brazil. In third place, Jelmer Moerman for Netherlands, passing John Martin in 4th for Australia on the final lap. Philippe Salaquada for Czech Republic, Sparta Prague comes in 5th. And Duncan Tappy for Japan, race 2's winner, in 6th. Neil Jarni, Belgium RSC Anderlecht, bit unlucky, was on a good run in the super final, but ended up in the gravel and came back to the pits, so finishes in 7th.
What a race.
What a weekend.
What a great, great weekend.
Outstanding. Applause from the crowd, applause from the pits. Craig Dolby coming in now to Parc Fermé.
I think this Super League Formula is a format that people will be speaking about if they've seen it.
On the rev limiter there for Dolby. Giving the crowd what they want, just one more little piece of noise. The crowd are moving from the grandstands down towards that end of the pits. Dolby just looks absolutely chuffed to bits, considering the body language we saw when he failed in qualifying to make it through. I think in there, that shot tells you all the emotion from Craig Dolby. Sat in the England car. He comes out. The team are there to congratulate him. Stands on top of the car. Here we go. Arms in the air. It's a win for Craig Dolby in England in race 2. A bit of a dance as well. And a wave to the crowd. Dolby absolutely over the moon with his result in race 3. Strong weekend for him. Second place in race 1. After a not great qualifying, it really does mean a lot to him.
And they did what they set out to do, score maximum points. Points was all that matters, because Craig Dolby is going for the championship.
Indeed, he was one of the drivers who had his drive for the entire season lined up before. He'd been working all through the winter to get the car ready. Quick kiss for the car there, he's very pleased.
I tell you what, if he gets his qualifying right, if he manages to shake that, I think he will be a force to reckon with and very hard to beat.
Well, he's been second in the championship for the last 2 years running, Dolby. I spoke to him on Friday after free practice 2, and he said that the only place he wanted to be was on the top of the podium at the end of the season.
That's what he did.
Okay, we've got Lisa down in the pit lane.
Craig, after difficult qualifying, who would have thought you would have won this championship?
It's me all over. I try my best until the checkered flag, and that was awesome for the boys. I owe that one to Alan Dockin Racing. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Craig Dolby, there we are, in a hurry to get off and thank the lads for their hard work over the weekend. Very, very pleased indeed. He's heading off to the podium to pick up a cheque for €100,000. Great way for a driver to earn a living. After the super final, then, these are the championship standings. And looking at that, we've got Japan, Duncan Tappy, at the top of the standings, despite not running on Friday, with a strong run through both the first race, the second race, and finally into the super final as well. Duncan Tappy winning race 2 at the top of the championship. Australia, John Martin in second place. They're up on the podium already. Applause for Craig Dolby.
Yeah, it's a very short walk here.
Jelmer Moerman on the right there, very happy as well to see be on the podium in front of his home crowd at the end of the day.
It says it all, racing like you've never seen, and that's true to the letter.
Craig Dolby then presented with the trophy.
Yeah, that's Sikra Hellendoorn, the mayor of Assen.
Jelmer Moerman, local driver, of course, one of his home circuits. Put on a good show for the crowd in Assen on Friday night.
And what about Pizzonia? From the stock cars in Brazil, back in the open wheels in the Superleague Formula. Henk Matthijssen, the city councillor, is presenting him with this trophy.
Yep, it's only 18 months out of single-seaters. He was very pleased with qualifying yesterday. Happy to be in 4th place after not having too much practice in the cars and no time in single-seaters.
I had a quick talk with him this morning and he said, how is it to be back in single-seaters? And he said, a lot faster. Jelmer Buurman, Levendam, CEO, Super League Grand Prix in Assen. Promoter of this race as well. He's presenting Jelmer Buurman with the cup for 3rd place.
So a chance for the drivers then to unwind now. The first weekend of pressure is off. I think one of the things we've seen is that the championship is open to almost anyone. We've seen 3 winners in this first weekend. We've seen so much action.
There's lots more to come because we're going to go off to Zolder.
Well, there we are then, the first Grand Prix weekend from Assen of the Superleague Formula Nations Cup 2011. I'm Andrew Coley, alongside me has been Rick Bolt, Lisa Leyland in the pits. Thanks for joining us. We hope we'll see you for the rest of what's going to be an exciting season.